Adios.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday, the 9th of December, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Get ready for not Game of the Year.
And Robert Kemp.
Just noticed, okay, totally weird aside. I've just noticed that my my Google has got a pop-up that says Google Search is no longer supported. My Google Chrome instance has got a pop-up saying Google Search is no longer supported. Was it like an app at some point? Because I think it's showing the apps page.
Yes, it clearly is. Look at Bejeweled on there. The app version of Bejeweled.
Wow,
the good version of Bejeweled.
Oh, yeah.
Before it became all shitty.
I don't know, Bejeweled Blitz for
One of the good versions of Bejeweled.
So what, Google Search was an app for Google Chrome?
For Chrome.
What does that even mean?
Yeah,
like an extension?
I don't know.
But it's built in. It's always been built in. Surely it's the whole point of...
Was it like a separate experience? Is it like that thing where you sort of swipe left on an Android phone and you weirdly get a Google news feed? Sort of like, was it like that? Was it like the MSN homepage?
Also,
what is now Bing, I guess?
Because we need to also point out that this pop-up that has just appeared on Rob's thing mentions after December 2022. So I think this might be a bit of an old version pop-up that's suddenly appeared.
It shows how often I click that button, right? However, accidentally.
They are changing the rules for extensions, right, in such a way to deter ad blockers, which is affecting everyone who ever made an extension, including me. Apparently, I made one at some point 5 years ago. I keep getting emails saying you need to be on the new version of the Google Chrome extension manifest or whatever.
Oh.
Speaking of adverts already,
is that because like Bing can basically support a lot of the same extensions? Like they're like, oh no, screw those guys.
Yeah, well, because
Edge, sorry, because
Edge, yeah. I don't know if Chromium includes the extension stuff. Presumably it does. I don't know. I think it's separate. Does Chromium come with the extension stuff? Like Chromium-based browsers that aren't Chrome have the same stuff? I have no idea.
No idea, mate. Zach, you had a segue that I ruined.
About adverts.
Speaking of adverts again, because as usual, here's the section where I complain about YouTube adverts.
I'm still getting that same LinkedIn ad.
Oh man, really?
Yeah.
How long do they pay for that for?
I don't know. It's really annoying.
Well, I've cancelled my Netflix and my Disney Plus, but I'm still paying that YouTube Premium. So I don't regret it at all. That was money well spent to avoid these freaking adverts.
Well, they've just become much worse on my YouTube because I guess it's not the video adverts, they're the same. But what's changed is the bullshit thumbnail adverts where they put like one of the thumbnails is an advert.
Like halfway down your subscription page.
The thing is, it always used to be one on the top line. But now they've changed it so it's like one every other line.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, Jesus Christ, really?
Yeah, because on the TV app, it's always like it's the first thing you see.
Yeah, it's top left,
and then everything else is fine.
But now it's just like every other line, one of them is an advert for at least the first 20 lines. It's just like that's a bit much, and they're all bullshit crap adverts as well because obviously that's the cheap adverts.
They're generally well, they're actually sometimes related to they've pulled my info from something and be like, oh, you looked at furniture from the Cotswolds company. It's like, yeah, I sure did. Have an ad. The thing that's annoying me about YouTube ads at the moment is the fact that they changed the skip system. Like on the TV app, that the way it shows the skip has changed. So right. For starters, it feels like there's far more unskippables now.
Well, sure.
And secondly, they've made it so they've changed the graphic. So in theory, this isn't such a bad thing, right? Because it always used to say skip in or something.
Skip in 5,
countdown.
Yeah.
And now it tries to show you the combined between multiple ads if it's going to show you multiple unskippables.
Not how it looks on my YouTube. On my YouTube, you don't even get the countdown any longer. It's just like, the video will play soon, maybe.
Oh, yeah, sometimes you get that. Sometimes you get that instead. Sometimes you get a spinner that counts down. And this is kind of my problem with it, that it's inconsistent.
Right.
Like, sometimes you get it's just going to play at some point. Sometimes you get a spinner that tells you the combined time. Sometimes that's wrong, and it will show you a lower time, and then the next ad will start, and it will show you a higher time before you can skip. And it's like, it's all broken, and it's all horrible. And if you were trying to watch the TGAs on the official stream, boy, they were frequent.
Yep.
Even though the TGA is just like a giant ad show,
right.
It's like, additional ads, making it even worse.
Yeah, and I mean that's got to be an intentional choice on their part. That's not just YouTube
The
randomly.
TGAs would have had to have opted into that, yeah. Which I'm surprised they're sort of allowed to do. I don't know. Like, yeah.
TGAs, VGAs, what you say?
I mean, I guess it's the
same
the
thing?
it's,
Sorry.
it's supposed to be the
Game
TGAs.
Awards.
I think the VGAs predated the TGAs, right? If that makes, I think VGAs were like Spike TV's thing before,
Right.
when this started to become a thing, and then Geoff took it over, and it became the Game Awards.
They basically did the joke.
I
Where it used to be something, and then they called it
put
the.
a the in front of it. Yeah,
I get it. Okay, I understand.
I think that's how that went. So yeah, this was the 10th year of the Game Awards. This is a podcast about video games. We'll talk about all that stuff in a bit.
Yeah, I guess.
Was this the 10th year? Or is next year 10th?
No,
year?
this is the 10th year.
This is,
and so they're having their 10-year bash next year.
For the 11th year.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense.
Because
okay.
It will.
That's how we did it for our podcast.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, I think that's the correct way to do it. Personally, like,
Sure,
it has actually been 10 years of time.
10 years. Yeah. Okay. Fair. YouTube Premium. I thought when I got it, I thought this is quite expensive. It's slightly
very
more.
expensive.
But now everything else has got more expensive, and it hasn't. And YouTube hasn't changed. So I'm like, I think this is actually not bad.
Don't say that out loud.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely not. I think YouTube is too expensive for what it is. Because it's not like I'm writing Google. It's not like I'm watching Google crafted material. That's the thing that pisses me off about it, like a little bit.
Well,
it's not
that's
like
the point.
it's not commissioned by. I don't think YouTube pays middling. I don't mean that in terms of quality. I mean the sort of like not the top tier producers. I don't think it pays anyone that's not above the highest echelon enough. I think they are poor to those and they just treat creators like crap in general. So the fact that those prices are that high is, I don't know. I find it quite galling.
And that whole thing where they just started monetizing anyone's channel, even if you don't get the money, they're just like, we're gonna put ads everywhere.
Yeah, it's the way YouTube is a fantastic service in terms of like just the breadth of content and the fact that you can just upload anything to it is, to an extent, is great, and that stuff still stands as it always has. But the way they treat creators now that they've tried to make a business model out of it is not good. And obviously we're not part of that equation because
no,
none of our shit's
very very much below any kind of useful threshold. But that doesn't mean I don't respect the arguments that people have against it. It's not, and they're just making it worse, constantly making it worse rather than better. I don't fully understand.
I still haven't seen that supposed animation of the like button or whatever when people in the video say like.
Right. What the live ticker supposedly.
Well, no, I've seen the rolling numbers are still there.
Because it's got the auto captioning, right? And so it knows when somebody
someone says like,
and when
meant to highlight the button.
It does a stupid animation on the button.
I still haven't seen that on my YouTube yet.
Right. Yeah, I've not seen that either.
But as with all changes to YouTube like that, it always just rolls out to a random selection of people, and then people start talking about it. You're like, well, I haven't seen that.
A/B testing, yeah.
Also, this reminds me of another random bullshit thing that happened to me on YouTube, where I think I can't tell if this is just me or whether this is actually the change that has now happened. But I think they've got rid of the mouse over GIF previews of videos now.
Oh, no, it just plays the videos now.
That's what I mean. They've got rid of the old version where it used to just play a GIF entirely. Yeah. So if you turn off the just playing the video one, it doesn't give you anything now. You just get a still image.
What annoys me most about that system is it still tracks your watch time.
It goes into your history.
Yeah.
It's like
it goes, even if you've just accidentally moused over something and watched it for a second, it goes into your history list. And worse than that, if I've accidentally left something, like my mouse hovering over a video of something I actually do want to watch, and I go back and watch it later, I click it and it starts the video halfway through because it thinks I've watched up to that point. It's like, no, I bloody haven't. Yeah. It's like it's awful. Why did they do that?
It's especially bad for me.
It sort of makes sense for the reels, maybe, if you're watching or the shorts things, I guess. If audio, but audio doesn't come out of those if you watch them that way, right? So
well, you can press the mute button on that little preview to turn the audio on if you want to. But
okay, fine.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
The whole point of if you want to watch a video, go and watch the damn video. Don't watch the preview.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's especially bad for me because I don't. Well, this is just me being a weird user of YouTube, but I don't subscribe or like anything. I use my history list to curate my suggestions.
Right.
So having it just randomly dump anything I accidentally mouse over into my history is particularly bad.
And have it skew your recommended. Yeah, okay, I get it. It's like when Gnome listens to my Spotify account.
Yeah.
Or uses my Spotify account to play things, and it's like, oh, that's going to balk up my Discovery Weekly.
I wish there was some kind of standard or convention for viewing content that you don't want to affect your algorithm or whatever. Like, I don't want to have to go to incognito mode just to watch
you need a temporary incognito.
Yeah.
Surely, I mean, maybe it's a feature we don't know, but that should just be like an actual built-in thing in Chrome where you control click a link and it automatically opens it in incognito or something.
I mean, you can. I think there is a way of doing that.
Well, I'm sure.
I know. Then, does it do that with links? I don't know. Maybe it might be Control Shift something.
But that is a whole deal because you've got no session, you've got nothing. Obviously,
it's you can't be on YouTube and then do that into one video and then have it
because it can't sandbox that session. I guess for the incognito mode because it's still having to load. Yeah, it's supposed to be entirely separate.
It should just be a feature. I want to watch this without affecting my feed. It
should just be an easy toggle.
I mean, you can I mean, on YouTube, not even inside the Chrome part of that argument, but inside YouTube, it's you can go into your watch history and push the pause history button, but then that's so inconvenient.
Okay, so the feature is sort of there; it's just buried.
Yeah.
I also kind of. Yeah.
And then you forget to turn it back on, probably.
Yeah. I suppose you can clean the history as well, but manually remove stuff from the history as well.
Which always annoys me because for some reason the X button to delete videos out of your history sometimes takes forever to load for no apparent reason.
Oh.
You mouse over the list, it's where's the goddamn X? Come on, hurry up, load the damn thing, Chrome or YouTube or whoever the fuck is controlling this part of the UI.
That's weird.
It's you can't just go down a rabbit hole looking at random stuff for a bit because it's going to affect you for weeks or something. Yep. Yeah. Did I tell you? I don't know if I said this on the podcast before, but my favorite one that ever happened to me on YouTube was at one point it thought I wanted to be recommended videos of diesel locomotives starting on cold days.
That is quite precise.
Which is a whole genre of fucking videos, obviously, because there's so many trained anoraks or whatever out there.
So they sound particularly juicy on a cold day? Is that the thing?
Well, yeah, it's them starting up. They're really rumbly or whatever, and all because they're cold or whatever. It's quite hard. And they have to gun it really hard to get to get going or whatever. Mm. It's a whole deal.
Huh. But you watch one of those videos and then YouTube's like, this is a niche and obviously this guy must be in it.
This guy wants more of these.
Well, I mean, I watched one video once of it was like an L train in a historic part, a hanging train that was in Germany during the Second World War or something ridiculous. Right. So and then there was footage from it of just a journey on this train. So it's ye olde
carriages,
and stuff like that. Or maybe it was First World War. I don't know. It might have been older than that. But so it's so I watched that. It's that's actually quite interesting. So then, of course, I get flooded with videos about hanging trains in general. Not even fancy historical stuff. Look at this feat of engineering. It's just NASA train. It was just one interesting video. That was it. That's all I wanted.
I know. So it's all these things that we always talk about, the YouTube algorithm, and the thing that you always say about it is you just wish there was some more direct customization from your end. bring back the 5-star rating, but make it like algorithmic rating, where you'd be like, I want to see more of that, or I don't want to see more of that, but like ranked.
Well, yeah,
and
so you can influence it more directly.
Or a way of doing that isn't the like dislike.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
That affects the channel.
You
like,
need
I don't
to send
want
it to the algorithm, not to like the person making the video.
Yeah, if it's not for me, I don't want to hit the dislike button to say, okay, I didn't like this, but also like fuck you, creator. That's not my intent. I want to just say no, not for me. Like, put it aside.
Or it's like, I saw this thing through the thumbnail and it wasn't for me, but that's not because of the thumbnail. It was because of the content. Or like, you need to be able to slightly be more nuanced than just telling the person to fuck off.
Exactly.
My favorite is like social networks or content sites that I don't use that don't have any data points on me and therefore have no fucking idea what to recommend to me when I go on them. Like if I actually log into Facebook or whatever, it's like, what makes Facebook think I like Friends? Why?
Maybe the generic one, though.
The most generic thing it can think of, I guess. For
it's like whenever I go onto YouTube on my phone, because that obviously I'm not logged in and it doesn't have any data because I never use it. I never use my phone for that kind of thing. It's like, let's look at what basic YouTube looks like.
Yeah.
What the normal people see when they log in.
Music videos mostly, isn't it? Like there's like a massive section on music videos, I think, in like base YouTube.
And that makes sense.
YouTube, I still have to every 30 days hide the shorts panel because that's still there.
I just leave that up now. I've given up on that.
By the way, speaking of music videos, what happened to Vivo or whatever the hell it was?
It's still about, isn't it? I thought they're just a YouTube channel.
At one point, it was every music video was like under that.
Yeah, it was Vivo. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem to be a thing anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even understand what they really were.
What it was. Yeah.
Was it just like a rights management thing where it's like, we've
so.
got all the rights so we can actually upload these to YouTube?
Yeah.
I think it must have been some kind of corporate like thing between the big music, what are they called? Publishers.
So I think Vivo have actually become sort of part of YouTube Premium in a weird way, or at least they can, they're affected by that, like in some way. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
I see. Record label, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, well, they're attached in some way. I have no idea. I don't know what their deal was. It's a music video network connecting an ever-growing global audience to high-quality music video content for more than a decade. Great.
Did you just read that off the internet?
Yeah, that is their company blurb.
Okay, brilliant.
Music television.
Television.
Music television, like it was meant to be. Of course, there's the other thing now, where like some of the music distribution platforms, like if you're thinking about putting your own music up onto streaming sites and stuff like that, YouTube is one of the options there on a lot of them. And I don't really know how that works. Does that mean I have to supply you a video? Or do you just put a generic like album cover or something on it and just have the song play in the background? No idea what that actually is or how that actually works, but yeah, it's now part of those distribution systems.
I don't think I've ever seen a modern version of that. Like, you'll see people uploading game soundtracks that just have a still image or whatever.
Yeah, that happens all the time still. Yeah,
but is that now what happens with real music as well?
I think even the like official soundtracks that people like put up to Spotify and YouTube, like even when like Sega are sort of embracing like, yeah, let's just put our soundtracks out there.
I mean, for real, why
I think they just often just use a plate.
Why doesn't YouTube just have a music player version? Like, surely that would be a logical way to. If everyone's already uploading music and making a one frame,
it does have a music.
They sort of do. If you have premium,
like a whole separate app.
Yeah, if you have premium on a mobile, you can do that.
Yeah, but why is it not just like a thing that's in YouTube? Like you click a music link and it just opens not the whole video player but like a music player. Even Steam has a built-in music player. Because I guess they figure if you're using a PC to do that, then it's just like, well, what? Just hide the video. It's fine, and then it'll work. Like, I don't know. I don't really understand. And then, I don't think YouTube care. that's basically out on PC. I mean, they have YouTube Music, which is like a whole full-blown Apple Music, and they constantly Spotify competitor. Constantly try and put mixers in your YouTube front page list. True, yeah. Here's a mix of random music videos you've already watched, or not even that. Like sometimes those mixers are just a
like, here's a playlist we slapped together of videos you've already watched.
Well, sure, but like I most often see them for music. I mean, it's like the top.
I don't.
The top 5 will be ones that I've already watched, and then it's just like here's obviously the related search area where it just like goes off in a random direction. It's like that's not useful. Not what I use YouTube for. If I want to listen to music on YouTube, I don't think I do want to listen to music on YouTube. Really,
I do wish YouTube wasn't quite so locked into the algorithm, right? There are times where I'm looking for something to watch and it's like, I don't know if I really want to watch anything that's in my wheel.
Well, that's why there's the new to you button.
Yeah, but then that's still within
it still doesn't actually work.
No, that's still within my wheelhouse. Like, it's, do you know what I mean? I just like you're allowed to break free of your shackles every now and then. Maybe that should be like a percentage slider. How much do you want YouTube to break? Like, just like go off on one and be like, here's what's, because it's like when you go to like Netflix, I guess is what you mean, and you go to the trending list, and it's basically the same as your recommended list because it's like these aren't trending. No. This is stuff that you just think I'm going to watch, and it's show me the real trending list, and like the closest thing you could get on Netflix is like the top 10 list, right? It's like that's probably the closest it will. Prime does the same thing as well. That's really frustrating. Where it's just the popular on Prime, and it's like, no, that's just
things that I would like. That's
the same.
That's
the same thing. That's the same algorithmic nonsense you're feeding me. Give me at least one row of like break free from my prison of YouTube.
Well, I mean, arguably that's what you get if you scroll all the way to the bottom of YouTube. You get the bullshit lines where it's like, this is the real crap.
The sidebar of shame of YouTube.
Yeah. But that's not actually good. Like, I don't even know how the algorithm pulls those, because it's like, why would I watch any of this bullshit? Not even close.
But then someone must have, right? Or is that why it's presenting them, or are they like this is maybe there should be a line of like, this is the very latest at the time of the request of like uploads, so it's like things that literally someone has just
go to the trending tab. I guess that does kind of put you a little bit outside.
No, but I mean like things that nobody have watched, like anything anyway. Just give me the most, like give me a chronological feed of YouTube and see what the hell is in there.
There's no way it would be able to pull that in any reasonable way, right?
That'd be great though. I want to see that carnage.
It would be interesting to see like what are people literally uploading right this second?
Yeah.
Let's try and imagine that situation. What is going to be the most generic possible YouTube video that you could at any moment someone is uploading this video?
It's a video of food immediately removed.
You won't guess that also. It's a video of food, right?
Oh my god, probably yeah. Makeup tips.
That's still slightly too specific.
Opinion pieces.
Slightly too much effort.
Poorly thought through opinion pieces.
Well, you don't mean opinion pieces. You mean a person recording their opinion.
Well, yeah. I suppose that's right. Yeah, not a piece, not a planned
You're not
piece.
thinking of effort. You're thinking of I turned on the camera and said words.
Yeah, a bit like us, but you know, at least we have some sort of plan. As vague as it is. Hey, we're nearly 14 years professionals at this point.
Yeah.
What's this podcast about again?
It's about video games.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we should start talking about that now that we've done the bullshit section for a while.
No, wait, hold on, hang on. I want to before we do any of that, I kind of want a temperature check with Dan about. Yeah, okay. I know you're not watching Ahsoka, and now you've cancelled your Disney Plus.
Yeah, I finished watching Loki.
Oh, okay. I've not seen that yet. Yeah, I'm pretty hyped for that.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm still working my way through Ahsoka slowly in our usual way. Space Whales confirmed.
Space Whales confirmed.
They're called Star Whales.
They're called Purgle, aren't they, or something?
Yeah, they have got some other name, but I can't remember what the bloody hell that was. But they are referred to as Star Whales.
Laser swords. Isn't that what George Lucas constantly calls lightsabers laser swords for some reason? He always says the wrong thing about his own stuff.
I mean, that's a great troll, but
He does it all the time. There's that bit in the Plinkett review where he's like, are they called Gungas or Goongas? Because he keeps saying Goonga.
Well, maybe nowadays he's not allowed to actually say it.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's part of his sales.
Yeah, anything he says isn't canon anymore. Yeah. Wasn't it like he had a character who's actually turned up in The Mandalorian? One of the clans of the Mandalorians is the Vizsla clan or something like that, because he called a character who was who'd been concept arted in the pre-Viz. He said that's pre-Vizsla.
Oh, I see.
Which is literally a character.
That's great.
Classic Star Wars name. Anyway,
anyway, the sort of the temperature I guess I wanted to check is like. And then this is an episode 1 thing, so not super spoilery, but
not the film episode 1.
No, not that episode 1. Episode 1 of Ahsoka. This is the spoiler.
Okay, that's fine.
So
I don't mind anyway.
How do you feel about the survivability of a straight stab through the stomach with a lightsaber?
It's not that different from being shot in the stomach, is it? Actually, probably better because it's cauterizing it.
Yeah, there's that argument that it's like cauterized or whatever. I don't think
it would leave like a massive, just perfect hole.
Probably not bigger than a bullet hole, really.
Aren't lightsabers like fist sized? Like,
yes, but bullets pull a lot of matter.
It might be better than a bullet. You're right, because a bullet is like the damage isn't like the little bit when it goes in. It's the shockwave that comes through. It's the exit wound is much bigger than the entry.
Exactly.
Wound, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with a lightsaber, I guess it's just a perfect.
It's a vaporizes it.
Yeah, but it's still a fist width hole, pretty much. Like just going straight through you. And they just
I think it would be very bad for you. I mean, that would definitely go through some major organs, like multiple points of the intestine.
Of course, there's a good chance. There's a good chance it's burnt through half your spine. Like I suppose,
yeah, exactly.
Depending where it hits.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. You just jump in a Bacta tank, and you're all good.
Right, that's true.
Right. Okay. So that's
except not though. I guess I never the Bacta doesn't regrow parts, does it? Because it's like he has to have a robot hand. It's not like his hand regrows.
No.
The Bacta was like after he got like mauled by the Wampa, right? That was like exterior
frostbite
wounds
as well, I
and
guess,
stuff, wasn't it? And the frostbite, yeah.
But Bacta is like a super antibiotics or whatever, right? That's why they just dump you in it because it's just like get in there and get cured.
Yeah, I mean it's a plot device, but yeah,
sure.
But I don't know.
It just sort of struck me as a bit
plausible to survive that, unless you have some kind of which they established in episode.
Oh God.
8 or 9, the force healing or whatever.
Right.
Which they never showed what that did to the wound.
Yeah.
Of course. It's like you just get better.
Yeah, I don't know. That struck me as like I don't know that I've seen that particular event happen in Star Wars before, and it just struck me as a little bit of like, wait, really?
I mean, technically,
hang on, but wasn't there someone in Obi-Wan who got like stabbed and then survived?
Well, technically, Darth Maul gets cut in half and survives.
Yeah, that's true.
Wait,
he gets robot legs.
Oh. Did you not see? That's canon, like that he's survived because he was in the end of the.
I mean, that could have missed all of his vital organs, really, depending on how close to the hips that cut was.
I mean,
he might have lost one vital organ below the hips.
Well, yeah, the vitalist.
The vitalist. Oh man, they just want to bring back him because he's a cool looking.
Yes.
Yeah, he's badass.
It was a plot device.
No, I don't think. But you're right, Zach. Like they've already done stupider. Before,
I think that's the detail I was missing. They've done it before, and it's like, okay, maybe that's.
I do think that's really stupid, and
it sort of cheap. It sort of cheapens the lightsaber for me. Like,
yeah,
kind of, I guess, but like if it was just it killed you when it touched you anywhere, that would be the opposite end of the problem.
Yeah, of course.
There's got to be some survivability.
Yeah, I mean, fine. If you lop an arm off, you're not going to just die from the eye from I'm missing my arm. Blah! It's not.
And to get really ridiculous in excuses, we don't know what the internal organs of the people in that universe are like.
Oh man, I suppose that's true. Yeah.
Was it a human?
Yeah, it
a human? Well, no, for a start, but yes.
Well, what I mean.
Human enough.
Human in the same sense as Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, that level.
that completely independently evolved in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago. But yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yes, a human enough person. Not a Twi'lek or anything like that. As you know. Anyway,
is that your main point?
Yeah. Also, that show is starting to tick me off because it is very clearly one of those shows where it's like the plot is only really driven by a key member of the cast being a total idiot the entire time.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, that's so annoying. That is so annoying. Where it's like you are clearly making the wrong decision. You have been told to make a different decision, and you're just an idiot.
See, that's why Andor was good because it wasn't like that.
No,
right?
exactly. Andor is fantastic. I love Andor.
And that is coming back, season 2. There's a trailer, I think.
Bring it on.
There's some Star Wars that's worth watching.
I mean, I'm not disliking Ahsoka. Like it's a bit of a Rob review. It's like I'm kind of enjoying it, but it's just there's clear like plot elements to it where it's just out of the lazy book. If you ask me, like it's just these are not good plot devices. These are not. They just frustrate me as a viewer, as a consumer of your media.
In actual Star Wars, like actual Star Wars, from the 80s, like does anyone get
actual? Right? Yeah. Okay.
Actual real Star Wars. Does anyone actually get hurt with a lightsaber? Like.
Apart from the cutting off of limbs.
Well, yeah, because they cut Luke's arm off, don't they?
And the one and that dude in the bar. All these limbs.
Yeah, they do.
Just cutting off all the time.
Mostly Lynn chopping off. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
they love a limb loss.
Isn't it? Yeah, Luke Skywalker gets his arm cut off, and so does Ponda Bobber, right? In the bar by an old man. They're the two key ones, right? And then does he cut off Darth Vader's arm at the end?
Yes, but it's a robot arm, obviously, at that point.
But it's a robot arm already because he got
symbolism, conveniently.
Yeah, indeed. And then he looks at his own arm. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I mean,
Dad, we've got something in common.
People in that film get shot by blasters and don't die. In those films.
That's true.
Leia takes a shoulder shot and she's totally fine.
Right.
So let me rephrase
But then blasters have always been wildly inconsistent, right? I'm kind of okay with the blaster thing because they always seem wildly like stormtroopers can get shot with a blaster through their freaking armor and they're dead. They're just gone.
Yeah.
In who gets killed with a lightsaber? In Jedi, maybe when he's rescuing them and he's on the skiff by the Sarlacc.
Yeah, they fight he fights a lot of people, but you never really see the hits happen in that fight.
They sort of just spark and then they fall over, right?
Or it's like a far away shot where you don't really see the actual hit happening. He's just waving it around.
Is that true that no one gets killed with a lightsaber?
That you see directly?
I mean, I guess that can't be true.
Apart from obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi just
vanishing,
crumbling into nothing. Yeah,
sure. I mean, he kills the pit monster, right? Oh, he doesn't have his lightsaber, does he? For that?
No, he doesn't.
He hits a door with a rock and it crushes him.
Yeah.
Very sad for the keeper of the Rancor. There was a good 2-second performance by that guy.
Yeah. Felt it, man. I felt it. Dooku, I suppose, but that's later.
No, that's not real Star Wars.
And you don't even see that happen either. Kind of. Yeah, I guess in those original films, no one actually appears to directly get hit that you can directly see for sure.
But you're right. Multiple people get their arms chopped off by a lightsaber, so it wasn't nothing.
Yeah. And in that first one in the bar, there's even a bunch of blood, which implies that it doesn't cauterize.
Yeah.
Wait,
blood.
what?
Yeah, there's a
this
shot
changes
of
everything.
Of his arm just on the floor, right? Loose from his body.
I mean, maybe it was such a quick slash that it didn't really cauterize as it went.
I don't think you could.
I mean, that was pretty unwarranted, like chopping that guy's arm off. I mean, I know we're threatening Luke, but like, come on. I mean, it is a dive bar. Like,
yeah, sure.
What do you expect?
But what else can you can't really do anything less bad than that with a lightsaber. That's the problem.
That's the thing.
It's the handle.
Well, that's the whole problem, right? If you get,
I mean, you could take an ear, I suppose.
God, you'd have to be pretty accurate.
You did I?
Sure.
Use the Force.
He's a bit old at this point.
Give him a haircut.
They
I mean,
haven't had
that
any
is-
practice for a while.
They're meant to be analogous to a katana, right? Presumably,
Yeah.
like a samurai kind of thing. And I suppose in those kind of films,
It is
like
just a
Kurosawa
cut,
kind of
right?
films.
It's not really it's not really a bludgeon, it's just a straight cut.
yeah. I mean, there's just a blow straight to the head and it instantly kills you. That was how it would work, right? Star Wars.
I'm sorry, not sorry I started this whole thing.
Well,
Yeah,
this is one of our traditional podcast subjects of analysing Star Wars.
yeah. Also, we watched, keeping on the sort of TV tip a little bit, we watched, and then just that Disney Plus tip, just to rub it in a bit. We watched that new Poirot, A Haunting in Venice. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I heard it was a bit better than the other ones.
It's definitely better than Death on the Nile, and obviously, Murder on the Orient Express was good, but everyone knows that story, I guess.
And it's a remake, yeah.
But yeah, Haunting in Venice is pretty good. You can feel the Ridley Scott influence a little bit.
Did he work on it?
He's involved, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if he's like full on the director or anything like that, but he's involved a little bit. So there's some of the scenes are shot spookily, shall we say? And if you're a fan of Dutch angles, there's a lot of them.
Oh, Dutch angles.
They're so Dutch.
Oh my god. I tell you, the worst offender for that was I tried to watch, because my brother recommended it to me, and this is quite niche, but there was an HBO miniseries years ago, like pre-Branda Brothers kind of, about era of HBO miniseries, about like the founding fathers. It was about John Adams, I think, played by, what's his name, Giamatti. Is it Paul Giamatti?
Oh, Giamatti. Right, yeah, I know you mean. Yeah. The bad guy from Shoot 'Em Up.
yeah, I always liked him. And I like, it's an obviously it's a bit like
Didn't he play the Rhino in Spider-Man at some point?
Yeah, I think so.
Very briefly.
Yeah. So he played John Adams, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting historical thing. Obviously a bit, bigging up America because it's all about the independence and like the formation of America. But I'll give it a go. Oh my God, Dutch angles. Every single angle is Dutch. It's so hard to watch because everything is wonky all the time. It's like, why did they make this choice? Couldn't they just shoot it normally? It's a historical drama. I guess they were like, we've got to spice it up somehow.
Or were they trying to like make it not look like it's a handheld camera in the past? But like, we have to make every shot an artistic frame shot that makes it clear that this is meant to be a picture, not literally someone holding a camera filming this.
But pictures are not usually at Dutch angles.
I mean, but then how else do you represent that in video, I guess?
I mean, did they get more wonky as the characters get tired? Is it supposed to is it like a cinematic device in some way? Or
not that I could tell.
No, just wonk for the hell of it.
It was just all on a wonk. It's like, period drama, but completely on a wonk for some reason. Anyway.
Full of wonkers.
You need someone to make a
and not Timothy Chalamet.
A video editing software plugin that just un-Dutch angles things. So you can just put the video in there and just hit the button and it just fixes it.
I mean, it would zoom it and cut bits out, but at least
it would be like stabilization, but only for Dutch angles.
Exactly.
That's probably possible. That to that. Right? You could. That's probably doable, right? An AI pass, and you just
probably.
go,
Oh, the Wonka film apparently is good. Apparently, after all that, because the trailers look pretty bad.
It's like pre-Wonka, isn't it? As well.
Yeah, it's like a prequel, and it's a musical, which they're not really advertising in the trailers. I think on purpose.
Rob has been fooled.
You have signed me out.
Which, by the way, have you seen the freaking trailer for Mean Girls? Like, it's so confusing.
Yeah.
Wait, what? They're bringing that back?
Mean Girls, and it's like a whole.
I'm kind of into that first Mean Girls film. That was good.
Yeah, Mean Girls is great.
Yeah,
but like Mean Girls, it's a whole new cast, and you watch the trailer, and it's like this is the exact same story. Why are they remake it. It's the same. What's
Right.
the deal? And you watch the whole thing, and I was like so confused by it. And then I found out afterwards that it's a film
musical.
of the musical of Mean Girls, but
Oh,
there's nothing in
God.
the trailer that tells you that. So that's the reason it exists, because it's the musical film of Mean Girls.
Right.
But there's nothing in the trailer. It just looks like a straight, full-on remake of Mean Girls, complete with Tina Fey. Like,
oh wait, so she's back. Okay, that's
yeah, because she wrote it.
Yeah,
Did you know
yeah,
that? Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, super confused, and with like updates of like it's got John Hamm on TikTok or whatever. You know, they're trying to bring it up to date. And I suppose TikTok's probably an important part of being a mean girl in 2023.
Presumably, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, most of it probably would just be like text messages, right?
Yeah.
If it was real life.
Instagram stories, yeah. And yeah, sorry, my point on the Wonka film is, and I've been seeing this around today because I was out today, the poster has a picture of Timothée Chalamet as Wonka that was clearly taken with him standing up, but they photoshopped sitting down legs onto him. And it looks insane. It looks so weird.
That's amazing.
And it's everywhere. So do watch out for that because he looks so bizarre.
Yeah, I want to see that. I shouldn't badmouth it too much because I actually kind of like the what's his name? I was about to say Gene Simmons. This is not Gene Simmons, is it? It's Gene, the original Wonka film.
Wilder.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I quite like that version of the film. And it's a musical, like it. Of course it is. But so I don't know why I'm being a bit harsh on it. But just as a general rule, musicals suck. So it's whenever you say that, it's just like, oh, okay, I'm less interested now. But then, you know, if Hugh Grant sings me a Oompa Loompa song, maybe I'm happy. Maybe that's okay.
I mean, it's directed by the guy who made the Paddington film, right?
Yeah.
You know,
so that should be good.
Probably good. Anyway, check out that poster. It looks completely insane.
The worst part of the Wonka thing is there's been this awful like Twitter ad that's like Timothée Chalamet like clearly like incredibly poorly green screened or something in front of like a fake curtain. It's like presenting something to you or something, and then it like opens and it just looks like an ad for like Clash Royale or something, like, you know, just a bad mobile game ad. And it's like, why have you done that? Just show me a trailer. Like it's awful. It's awful. I don't know why
they made a meme for that, but then an advertising company stole it.
I don't know why they did that. It's just awful. Marketing sucks.
One more, just to finish this section off by looping it back around to shit YouTube adverts again.
Full circle.
Back where we started.
Call back.
One of the things that I'm still getting the million upon million of bullshit mobile game ads for this one game with very slight variations. But now the variations that I've started seeing are the ones where at the start of the advert it just pops up a little text box that's like, "Wow, the ending is so incredible. Make sure you stay to the end." And then it's just it's literally just the same advert again and nothing's changed. It's like, great, thanks. That's the level of marketing we're getting now, just trying to fake you out by telling you that it's so incredible when you watch to the end.
Great.
Brilliant.
Great.
It's like, great, thanks.
Watch all of
that should just be literally false advertising. Except, you know, how can you define incredible? It's definitely not incredible when you've already seen the same advert again without that on it, though. So this is a podcast about video games.
Yeah, and there was a big show with a lot, which was basically
You might have watched it on YouTube and got a million goddamn adverts. God.
Yeah. So we talk about it. What's been happening?
Well, I was trying to find the Wonka legs. I didn't find them.
Rob's momentary Googling did not succeed.
Yeah. Alrighty, what has been happening in news? Well, TGAs is the main thing.
Yep.
That went down, but let's do this in a semi-chronological order. Hey Dan, tell us about that day of GTA 6.
Oh, there was a trailer for GTA 6.
Yep.
Oh my god, how many years has it been?
Decade.
Yeah, decade. to go along the little genre of pretty stellar trailers over the years The one for GTA 4 was pretty good.
I don't know. I soured on this a little bit when I sort of saw the Kotaku thing that basically most of the trailer is just they copied like actual Florida TikToks. Like it's not like they didn't come up with half of it. It is just them putting that in their world, and I'm like, oh well, that's okay, sure. Florida the hell out of this game. That's fine, but also that doesn't make this makes this trailer less impressive to me. Like they
didn't come up with their own bullshit. They just used the real bullshit.
Yeah, they used the real stuff, which is wild on its own. Don't get me wrong, but also it's just like, oh, okay, no, this is considerably less inventive than I thought it was.
I soured on. It's a parody, though, isn't it? It's a satire of American culture. But that's
the problem, isn't it?
It's not even like a parody. It's just the culture. It's a copy. It's not a parody. Like
that's why I said to Rob, it's like you actually can't parody Florida now.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to try. If anyone's going to give it a go, I guess it's going to be Rockstar.
But then that's the point. They didn't try.
They didn't.
They just took exactly what those TikToks are.
Because
my god, it looks amazing. It does look amazing. So hyped. I cannot wait.
I mean,
it's going to be like the biggest cultural event for like I don't know. It's going to be so huge. I don't know how they're going to.
But it's I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, I was not disappointed. Although I haven't looked up every TikTok video from Florida, I have to admit, or ever been on TikTok. But I like how they integrated that aspect into, because you've got to do that, I guess, because that's the current culture. It's kind of weird looking back now, because if you look at GTA 4, we had like sort of smartphones, right, as part of the game interface, and then by GTA 5 you had kind of Life Invader, right, wasn't it, the Facebook? And the fact that it's gone so past that now, and it's a totally different era of social media to satirize, along with everything else about American
that's probably why it
culture.
like plays, it worked out that they have held off for so long before actually committing to one of these, right? The thing, they're at the point, I think, with GTA almost that they do have to wait for a cultural shift for it to make sense for them to make one. At least one that's set in the modern era. Yeah. If they were to go back in time, I think that would be cool also. Can you imagine them doing a 70s like GTA now? Or like, or actually revisit GTA London, like, which is our, the dream for me. Like just do that 60s GTA London again, but do it with your modern tech. That would be freaking cool. But
these are all the questions, aren't they, that we've had for years? It's like, and that's what I find interesting about this. Is like, I've wondered for years, and we've talked about it on the podcast, of like, what do they do after 5, like in terms of, because of the scope situation and the fact that it's grown so much over the years, that it means that you can't do like Grand Theft Auto Vice City, was a quite specific parody of, that it was Miami, but it was like Miami Vice, and it was Scarface, and it was a certain era, certain thing.
Sure.
But like, that's now the scope of these games is too big
to really just zero in on that
theme. Yeah, exactly. And that's where something like, GTA 5 is like modern day California, has enough stuff, enough references, enough films, and everything about it that you can do that. But but my question was like, where do you go from there? Always. And like, as soon as I saw this, it was like, oh, I actually get it. Okay, there's actually, because for years I've been like, well, the obvious one, they've gone through the generations, and they do New York, and then they've done Miami because they did that one-off thing for the 80s vibe or whatever. It made sense to do Miami then because of Miami Vice and all that stuff. That made sense. And the tech at the time meant it was a right size of city to do. So it worked out really well. Vice City's like brilliant. Brilliant. And then they did LA, obviously, New York, LA. And then it's like, okay, next generation, we go back to New York, but now we have the much more sophisticated technology and graphics, etc. And then naturally, then they do LA, but with because with San Andreas, they did like all of California, right? They tried to do, and more. They did Las Vegas and San Francisco. They were like, how big can we go? And like GTA 5 is like, at that kind of level of technology, they did a baby Los Angeles, and then they did a wider Southern California, right, with the big mountain and all of that stuff, and the coastal highway and all of that stuff. So they could do, where Trevor lives is like quite far from the city and all of that stuff. Like, so you could have a lot of stuff in there. So the question for all these years is like, well, the obvious next place to go is Vice City, right? But that's too small now. How does that work? GTA 5, the scope was so huge of all of California. Like, if you go to Vice City, you can't have a big mountain because there's no mountains in Florida. Like, that doesn't. How does that work? It was always my question. It's like, how do you reconcile the expected giant scope? We just did Red Dead 2, which was like half of the US or whatever, like all these different variety, and it had a huge city in it of Saint Denis or whatever. How do you, does Vice City even make sense when it was just worked so well for this little pocket 80s niche, Vice City, what am I saying? Miami Vice kind of thing. Does that work now?
And their answer is swamps.
The answer is, then I saw the trailer and it was like, oh, it actually makes total sense. I feel like...
See, here's the thing. I'm sure I'm fully on board with that as a thing, because they can always make the cities bigger and more realistically sized. They could always just make them denser.
Well, you could do, but they make
and focus in, like do the cyberpunk
that make them interesting,
thing, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing is, if you make it now, presumably they have the technology that they could actually model like a small city, like maybe Miami or something, fully, right? But with all the streets, if they wanted. But why would you do that? That's not fun. Like, it's not. You're trying to do
giant
like
expanses of empty swamps aren't necessarily fun either.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing that sort of...
Yeah, that's never been what they've done, is try to make... That's why those worlds don't feel as empty as some other, like...
No, don't get me wrong, worlds, I get it, but I think it's possible. I just don't think it's impossible to do, to if they went smaller scale, like smaller scope, and just focused in on a city and told a city-based story, I kind of think that would be fine, because like
I kind of think that's what they're doing, though.
Sometimes the variation isn't the strength in GTA. Like sometimes go like the extended periods. Don't get me wrong, I think GTA 5 struck that balance better than most, but like the extended periods out in the wilderness, for instance, in open world games, after having you been in the city before and then you come out of it, those can kind of suck. Like, and they can like draw the pacing away from what was an interesting game and pull you out of it. So I don't know. I'm not bothered by.
But I think this is a smaller scope in that sense. I think that is what they've done, and I think it's the right thing to do. Even though you get the shots of the swamps or whatever, it's like, I think it is more focused, and I think it actually makes sense to do that this time around and make it. And it's back to my classic theory of video games, which is like that I always go on about, and I suppose that's the difference between Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Wonder, is like one's like very, very vast scope, but maybe not as, what do you call it? I don't know. I always think of it as like perfection, but I don't know what the best or gaminess of it. But like I always think like the perfect game is Tetris, right? But it doesn't have the scope, Sure. And I think that the game that struck the best balance between like being a perfect, awesomely fun video game in the minutiae or whatever and having a vast scope was actually Breath of the Wild. I think that's the game that's done it the best ever. But like obviously Mario Wonder, for example, is much smaller scope than Tears of the Kingdom, but nails
its elements stronger.
Yeah, nails the kind of gameplay focus or whatever. Not that, I think Tears of the Kingdom plays great. But anyway, but for GTA, it's like that now's the time to narrow the scope a bit and make it more like a perfect, like shorter, smaller story. You've only got 2 characters, right, rather than 3, which is good.
Yeah, seems
focused. I like that, and I don't know. I'm pretty hype.
Yeah, it'll be a moment for sure, and I'm not exactly. I find it difficult to get hype about GTA because I'm just never into it as much as you are, but like, or as much as the greater population is, and I think they've been quite hit and miss over the years. It's like I just haven't. I didn't get into San Andreas. I didn't get into GTA 4. I found GTA 4 very irritating. Actually, 5 was like the first one in a long time that actually connected and was like, this is good, and I can see it through and I can play it. But that still didn't mean it was a perfect game. It had plenty of flaws. It had plenty of oddities, but like I'm in it for its storytelling primarily, and that stuff was good. So like, fine, if you nail that and get and allow the mission design to support that still without being irritating, then I'm in. So for me, smaller scope is appealing. Like they just need to they need to confirm what that is, like, and if that is true and stuff like that, then I'm, I would find that more interesting.
That's how, I mean, not that you can get that much from a 90-second trailer.
No,
but
we have absolutely no idea.
That's what it feels like that's what they've done. Because, like, anyway. So
also, female protagonist confirmed, I guess. That's the other big deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. She seems cool, I guess, from what you can tell from the 5 seconds you get to see of Lucia. And would fit, is going to be able to go into all those different kind of situations and cultures and stuff that are represented, which is cool.
Sure, yeah.
And the satire element, that's always stronger in the trait. I mean, it's important in the game, but like it never swamps like the story. It's always like a,
it's an element. Yeah, it's like a theme.
It's an element.
Yeah. It's a.
I mean, sometimes they go a bit. I mean, they have been too heavy-handed with it in the past. Like,
I kind of don't mind that if they do it as like a side comedy mission, right? If it's
exactly.
Then sure, go nuts, do whatever you want to do. That stuff's fine.
It feels like this will be, I hope, especially because with Red Dead 2, when they went with a very somber story, honestly, like more, and this will be a bit more lighthearted than that, but I think it will be a bit more focused than GTA 5, swapping between Trevor and Michael and all of that stuff. It was good. That was cool, and it was cool how all their stories like were interwoven and came together.
Yeah, it was well done.
Yeah, but tonally, it was a little bit all over the place in certain.
Well,
not all
intentionally,
over the place, but,
I think
exactly. Well, I think this feels like it'll be a bit more focused, which is cool.
Yep. If it is, then that definitely raises my hype level a little.
Yeah.
I suppose sort of talking more solid facts. It's like, okay, so this is going to 100% be current gen only.
Yep,
they're not
fully current gen,
which makes sense. Why would you? No PC.
I mean, because they
version.
know they'll be re-releasing this for another 10 years after this. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So no PC version at launch, which is Rockstar's standard. It's a bit frustrating. They're still doing that because it's often quite a delay, isn't there? Like a year maybe before they get around to doing the PC versions.
It could be worse. It's better than.
I mean, it could be Red Dead, but so
I think that's fair enough. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's perhaps points towards the fact that like they're not replacing GTA Online within any time soon, right? I guess is my take on that, because it's like if it's not out on PC, they are not replacing GTA Online.
No, I'm sure they'll keep that going. Yeah.
Before presumably they unleash some kind of GTA Online for GTA 6 at some point and start pushing everyone in that direction. They're going to do that. It's going to happen.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, it's going to be some ways off. So if you're a GTO player, don't this you might want to hold off.
It's nice to see. I know obviously they wouldn't not do this, but like the cars are. It's funny that the cars are the same model of cars from like GTA 3. Some of them.
I mean, sure, that's great.
Yeah.
I like
the same parody Ferrari and the same parody muscle car, and
you've got to keep the world going at this point, right?
Yeah,
and it's like
it's cool.
Why wouldn't you? And the other thing to note, the other thing that came up in the news actually was Rockstar talked a little bit about the Series S support, right? Because they're a little bit annoyed about the fact that they actually have to put this out on Series S. They kind of don't want to. They want to focus on the X and PS5 versions.
Yeah, makes sense.
The S is proving a challenge for them. Because of it's supposed to just be the whole point in the S's design was that it was supposed to be just to be a graphical downgrade, right? So it's like it's not, it shouldn't impact the games you make for it. Because the GPU isn't quite as strong, or the total memory isn't as strong in theory by how much of a resolution drop you're taking, so you don't load in so many textures or something like that. Blah 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 blah. In reality, that's obviously not going to play out for every game, and apparently in this case, it is a challenge for GTA,
right? Because they're squeezing the whatever they can out of the Series X and PS5, right?
And Microsoft have only capitulated on their rules for Series S and Series X parity once, and that is for Baldur's Gate 3, where they couldn't get the co-op play to work on Series S.
Right.
So Baldur's Gate 3 for Xbox, which is now out. It's finally out on Xbox. Because it was held up for exactly that reason. You can only play co-op on Series X because they couldn't get it to work. And that is the one time Microsoft have said fine.
Well, if anyone's going to get an exception,
but the game still came out. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So if they can't get it functioning on Series S, then there may be trouble ahead for Xbox.
Well,
owners.
but what's Microsoft going to do?
Yeah, they're going to want it, but it's like but it's going to be annoying for Xbox customers if
that's true.
If Microsoft relent. So at the moment they're targeting it. Is basically the news there. There's like they are trying. Do we have a date on this? Is it 24? No, it can't be 24.
No, it's
right?
25.
25.
25. Yeah. It's a 2025. Yeah. Which I'm sure, makes sense. I mean, that's similar to previous when they've had the trailers, I think, probably at least a year before the games come out. The first trailer, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. And I mean, it looks amazing, but also like.
See, I think it looks. I think it just, other than density aside, because it wins on the density front for me. I think that's the impressive part of the visuals for me. It's just like as much the crowd on that beach, for instance. There's a lot of people on that beach. That's crazy. That's kind of neat. But like other than that, I just thought it just kind of looks like a modern video game. Didn't feel like it was pushing too many boundaries, like in terms of tech. But the density looks cool. That's clearly improved.
I like that. As tech improves or whatever, and you think at certain point, like they'd think, like, well, we can do all this rendering, so why? Let's go for a photorealistic look. But they've recognised that now's not the time for that. No matter how good this stuff gets, they've gone for a stylized look with the characters, and I think they look really good. And they look like GTA characters, but they look a lot better than GTA 5 characters, or or Red Dead characters even. That
sort of like hyper photorealistic approach, I think, is only possible within small scope currently.
Yeah,
like
indeed.
Like there's only been a few cases. There's that cop what was it, body cam game that had everyone freaking out because of how realistic it looked.
Sure.
And it's like that's probably quite a small scope project to just make for that to be the thing. But with GTA, it's like I'm not surprised. I would rather them bulk out the world with like a multitude of things and detail and do all that. And if they can't hit photorealism by doing that, that's fine. That is fine.
And I think it looks good this way. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say I'm knocking the look. That's not what I meant. But like, it's just like in terms of tech progression, I wasn't blown away by how it looked. It's just it's clearly got Rockstar's level of detail though, which is always
I mean, I think Red Dead 2 looks fucking amazing.
Red Dead looks great.
But, be nice to see that in. I don't know why there isn't a PS5 version of that, but anyway, never mind. That's another Rockstarism.
Yeah, and the only reason you get the 4K version is because of PC, and Microsoft put the work in to do it themselves, right, on a Series X, because it all.
Oh right,
they hacked it effectively.
Sure.
So it is a bit weird that there isn't a PS5 version of it.
But what else about that trailer? I don't know. It's not like in the old days where it's like, oh wow, there's helicopters or whatever or something like that. Like because all the stuff's been in previous GTA games. It's just more a vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, and, absolutely.
It looks cool, and I just hope again, which I think they did pretty better job with GTA 5, and I hope they continue it because it kind of went backwards with Red Dead 2, was like prioritizing I don't know, player input.
Game over animation.
Over animation.
I feel like that matters more in GTA than it did in Red Dead, because it was there, but I didn't mind it that much in Red Dead, or at least I don't remember minding it that much.
It's I don't know. It's
There's
kind
definitely
of
places
annoying
where
in
it's
Red Dead
annoying,
2.
yeah.
I mean, they're doing it like it's a deliberate game or whatever. But like, I felt like Red Dead 2 wasn't as fun to play as Red Dead 1, even though it was like way cooler in a million different ways. And I hope that they find a way. There must be some way to strike, not just strike a better balance, but also have both, have your cake and eat it. Surely you can do both now with better technology of have really responsive controls and great looking animation. But it's just I get that in Breath of the Wild you can walk up to an apple and hit a button and it goes blunk and you've picked up the apple, whereas in Red Dead 2 if you go over to an apple your character has to step over it and lean down and pick up the apple and whatever and then put it into somewhere that makes sense, like his pocket or something.
But then it makes you think unlike in Zelda where you don't care, you just pick up everything. It's there's a place for that, because then it makes you feel like, oh, pick up what do I want to spend my time picking up, right? It makes you it imparts value.
Yeah, oh, totally. I mean, it's a deliberate choice, but it's I think, come on, it doesn't totally break my immersion just to make it a bit easier.
Not at all.
You find a bit more of a balance there,
and I think they will with GTA, because GTA feels like it just naturally will lean a bit more that way than Red Dead does. I
mean, I actually still think that they went too far with the cars in GTA 5, the driving. I thought I really liked the driving in 4, even though it was because it was super physics based, and it was some of them were
it was quite really bouncy, wasn't it?
They were bouncy. It was rolly. It was a lot of body roll on those cars, but I liked it. It was a bit much, but in GTA 5 got too arcadey for me because it was cool and easy, but it was too easy. So I hope they bring a bit more kind of that bouncy rolly feel, maybe.
I suppose it depends on how bad a car you're driving, right? That's what it should be.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It should be based on the car.
Yeah, exactly. A bit more variation, because it was a bit too easy, to the point where you had air control of cars, I think, in 5 right. Somehow, stuff like that. Yeah.
Alrighty. We need to crack on with the TGAs, because
let's do it.
There's still loads of that to get through. If we want to have any time talking about what we've been playing.
Well, I hope you're going to summarise that list somewhat, because I feel like a lot of those names on this list is not super important.
No, I mean, on reflection, no. There's some stuff that can definitely be skipped over. So yeah, there's before the TGAs even happened, there was a small controversy around what even counts as an indie game, because one of the categories was obviously best independent game, and it raised a few eyebrows when Dave the Diver turned up on the list. Now, Dave the Diver, it has that, what you could argue, it has that vibe of an indie game. It has that mentality of it, but it doesn't. You don't have to go very deep before you realize, oh, that's basically developed by Nexon, who are a pretty big Korean development house. Multiple. This was developed by a division of Nexon, ultimately, and it's that's not really that's not really in the spirit of an independent game, right? This was a big corporate machine making a game.
It's not independent by definition, is it?
Pretty much, no. So that has raised a few eyebrows, and it's and Geoff Keighley basically then came out and said it's yeah, this is a really fascinating question, simply because it's this is the way the awards work, and he's always been open about this, is they go and ask I think hundreds at this point. There's quite a large list of basically media outlets to be hey, provide us with one of your creators as a judge, or some of your creators for a judge, and then they cast votes on everything, on what should be nominated, and ultimately what should be chosen as the award winners. So the onus is on the industry here, the journalism industry here.
Geoff Keighley's just thrown everyone under the bus.
Basically, yeah.
So these guys haven't done their research.
No.
So tell them they're bad.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
right.
And I find it hard to argue with him. Honestly, it's this is a cock up. But it also speaks to maybe the Game Awards, maybe Geoff or maybe his team should have stepped in and been No,
Did you guys not?
this is not what the awards is about. This is wrong.
maybe we need to go one step further and go full Eurovision and have the expert board and the public board.
Oh God, right? But because they have one award in the TGAs that is like public voted, and it's like here's the Public Choice Award of the year, and it's basically Game of the Year.
But it doesn't have to be public voted. It just had to be like public nominated.
I mean,
or
I guess
not nominated, or like
maybe.
proportionally,
I guess they're
or
afraid
something.
of getting rickrolled, like obviously.
Well, sure. Popularity votes are a problem, but that's why the Eurovision is meant to have the export board. It doesn't work, but they try.
No, because the expert and the public votes are always so wildly different. A Eurovision. It's an odd place to be, and fortunately enough, it didn't win the award, sure. so it's kind of moot anyway. But I think it's hard not to agree with the controversy in this case. It's like, it's not an independent game any way you look at it. It has got a bunch of people obviously talking about, okay, but what is an indie game then? It's clearly not that. But like, where do we draw the line?
What about like the games that are being released under the EA Indies thing? Like, does that
EA Originals? Yeah, that's
count?
That's a tricky one, isn't it? As soon as you get a publisher involved,
yeah.
I mean, and most indie games are published by someone, right? Because I don't think anyone has much of a problem with games published by Annapurna, for instance, who go out of their way to find developers that are making weird stuff and just publish their work. So then do you need an investigation on like how involved the publishers are getting with these game companies and their development cycles? And it's like, are they influencing what the game is? In which case, are they truly independent? And it's like,
the actual answer is just rename the category and get rid of the word independent.
Well, yeah, but then you've got to like measure it by some other means and be like, okay, what does that really mean? Like small budget, small team, yeah, something like that. And then you need to prove that somehow. Or do you go down the route of it is just a vibe? In which case, do you need to reclassify what that is? It's like, if not AAA in some way.
V. That's not what V's for, though. V means something else.
Yeah, can of worms. But I think I think the industry did get it wrong. David Diver isn't an independent game.
No.
That's no shade against Dave the Diver as a game. I'm actually kind of interested to play it.
Yeah,
like it looks kind of cool. It's just the state in these awards. Anyway, so that all happened ahead of the show. The show was quite long and quite, I would say, pretty content rich. Like almost, there was a lot of new game announcements. There was a lot of, basically like. It was kind of better. It's better than Gamescom. It was better than the ONL. It's like better than the other shows they do. There was a whole bunch of new stuff there. Whether or not you're interested or not is another question. But at least in terms of like a big event with a lot to say, they've done it again. It's like it's one of the more interesting shows to watch. Did
you watch it at midnight or whatever? UK?
No, I watched most of it today.
Okay, fair.
So catching up with it. The Dead Cells team are making a new game. About time, I suppose.
Well, if you feel like they've fucking finished Dead Cells at any point, because they never stop working on that goddamn thing.
It keeps going. They're making something called Windblown that appears to be like more of a Hades like, I suppose, if you wanted to do that, a sort of top down.
You got half a more dimension.
Yeah, I guess like a top down sort of action RPG looking thing, possibly multiplayer. It wasn't 100% clear from the trailer. And it's called Windblown because everyone's wearing like these like jetpacks on their back to jump between sky islands or something.
Okay, I was like, jetpacks doesn't mean wind. Oh, right, sky.
Yeah, but they're sort of like fans, I suppose. Yeah, it's a very different vibe to Dead Cells. Although they have a sort of like most of the trailer was animated, like Saturday morning cartoon style.
Like Dead Cells was, yeah.
So I suppose. But the game itself, the little we saw wasn't like that pixelated look like Dead Cells. Get hyped if you're a fan of that team. Thrasher. I don't actually really know what this game was. I'm just excited for it because it's made by the guy that made Thumper.
Well, considering the name, he's like
It makes sense.
Might be the same.
but
Might be more.
But kind of not. It looked like some like weird like leafy caterpillar thing, and you're guiding it around. It looked like a VR game as well, and there's big heads, which I suppose is a thumper thing, that you're fighting and killing somehow. And it's like, I have no idea what was going on in this trailer, but I'm hype because Thumper was rad. So I'm excited to see what this ends up being. World of Goo. It's getting a sequel.
I know, that was the funniest one that I saw.
15 years later.
It feels like longer.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, World of Goo was like when we talk about indie, right? It's like
one of the first.
Yeah, it's on that sort of wave of indie being a considered part of the industry, right? It's so it's an important game in the history of that, and so for it to be getting, I mean, it's nice to see that company back, right? I forget what they're even called, but that they haven't done anything for ages, or at least I don't think they have. So it's kind of cool to see them back. And it looks like World of Goo is going like more than just bridge building in places. Like there's fluid dynamics and stuff at play here. Like there look like it just looked like there was a lot more going on in terms of like what. And I guess they would have to be for this to be important. So yeah, it's look good. Matthew McConaughey turned up for a game called Exodus. I mean, there was quite a bit of celebrity action this year. Matthew McConaughey kind of kicked that off. Yeah, this is his first video game appearance. It's hard to know what Exodus actually is. It's some kind of spacefaring like thing where you're a traveler, quote unquote, who for whom time will pass slower because they travel a lot, and while they're traveling, time dilation happens. Blah 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 blah, something like that. Matthew McConaughey made a joke about that. Interstellar reference.
Yeah, I mean that does that seems like, was that just literally the hiring pitch that they made?
Probably.
It was like, games about time dilation, so let's get the guy from that movie that dealt with time dilation.
Yeah, I think that's entirely how that went. Yeah, we don't actually know what that game is. Or at least they didn't show it. The makers of Untitled Goose Game are making a new thing, and it looks kind of weird. And I don't quite.
Weird.
I don't really know. Again, it's hard to know what this game actually is and how you interact with it. But
by the way, for my stupid fantasy league, like Geoff Keighley introduced this by saying, "Small indie team from Australia that haven't released a game since 2019."
Right.
Like, God damn, where's my Hollow Knight? Anyway.
yeah. There was no mention of Hollow Knight. That's clearly not happening this year. So House are making something called Big Walk, which is visually a bit of a departure from Untitled Goose Game. It's like a grassy open world kind of looking thing with kind of realistic graphics until you see the characters, which look, to me, they look about, those sort of like birds that sort of tip into water and like sip at water endlessly. Yeah. They kind of look like those, like just spherical body parts and big ass eyes and like a Pingu mouth.
Pingu, yeah. Pingu mouth that like changes size as they talk.
And it's like they're sort of laughing and joking, and there's actual voice and stuff in this, and it's like they just seem to be exploring this, whatever the hell this world is, which seems to have like radio towers and brightly coloured holes. I don't know. That's all I can really say about it. But they're back.
So this is a multiplayer focused, right? This thing.
I mean, I guess, yeah. It's got that. It looks like it probably will be. Big Walk.
Cool.
Big Walk.
Is Big Walk like an Australian cultural Aborigine thing or something?
I mean, maybe. It's walkabout, right? Is the Aborigine
right.
thing.
Walkabout. That's what I'm thinking of. Walkabout. Okay.
There's a couple of bits of Fortnite news, so it might be worth like linking these two together. But they're sort of returning to the save the world well a little bit. But hey, do you know what they thought might make that better? Let's make Lego in it instead. So it's Lego Fortnite,
right?
But based on the save the world mode, it seems. So it's like you're
building the building
because of the building, yeah.
Not that you don't build in the other Fortnite as well.
I mean, sure. But,
Except the mode that you actually like, Rob. There's no building.
There's no building. But like, I guess if like it's like paced like the Save the World mode where you don't have to just be building wildly like all the time and in like a horrible blueprint mess that is impossible to see what the hell is going on. Why is that game popular? Honestly, it's rubbish. Or that particular mode. It's fine. Take the building out and it's fine. Like,
why do people like games like Fortnite and GTA?
It's just the building. The building sucks.
I know.
I don't know. I thought this looked good. I actually thought this looked good. Like, and I know Zach's now got a machine enough that's powerful enough to play Fortnite. Maybe we can play this. Yeah, so there's that. I'll skip to the other Fortnite news then while I'm on it. So Psyonix are making a new game. Arguably, because as part of the epic Find It in Fortnite push, Rocket Racing is coming to Fortnite. So it's a Psyonix developed racing game that will be in Fortnite with the Rocket League car. You know, that one from the box art. It's there.
I mean, that was already in Fortnite, right? It was one of the goofy vehicles that you could find somewhere in Fortnite.
That would not surprise me. And, you know, there's some of the rocketing about is part of the racing physics. So
have they done a race? It's a stupid question. Did they do racing games or did they?
Psyonix, I don't think have ever made a straight racer.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
Like, Rocket League is super powered acrobatic rocket. Well, however the flip that name is, I can't remember.
Supersonic acrobatic rocket powered battle cars.
That's the one.
Expialidocious.
Yeah, I mean, those are the only two games they've made like outside of Epic, and then Rocket League obviously became part of Epic. Before that, they were always like actually a support team for Epic, bizarrely, helping out with the Unreal Tournament games, doing the vehicle physics in that. So they've never made a straight racing game. So like this is interesting.
It could be cool.
I mean, yeah, and because it's Find It in Fortnite, right? There's a high probability this is free. Just try it, guys. Just try, and I think it's out now. Might have to go just fire up Fortnite and have a little look. Is Fortnite might be good. I've said this before, but Fortnite might be good. The platform thing is weird. I don't know. Is it too Robloxy at this point?
Not until
not enough.
not until there's a revenue sharing model, I guess.
Yes. I mean, there are ways to. I think there are ways to monetize inside Fortnite,
right? But not like it's more like a shop, right? I don't know. You make a sub shop instead of the Fortnite shop.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know, but I think there are methods now. Kamuri, I can't remember her name. And this is bad of me. I should have written that down. But she's, you know, the lovely Japanese designer behind Ghostwire Tokyo. You know, the crazy one who is always like super bouncy on stage. She's working on a new project. It is super early. It is quite different looking from Ghostwire. It's but not too detached in concept. So it looks like it will be more of a team character action game. Where you're fighting the unseen, so ghosts essentially. But it's got a rad trailer. She's obviously cool. One to keep a lookout for. It's a long way away. Don't get too excited just yet. But it looked cool. It trailed real well. Didn't see any gameplay, but it's a cool idea. Anyway, Moon Studios, the makers of Ori. And the Blind Forest, or the Will of the Wisps, they're working on a new project called No Rest for the Wicked, and this is quite a departure from Ori. It has to be said. It's more of a fantasy adventure action RPG game than a side scroller Metroidvania. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love those Ori games. So seeing them go down an action RPG route, and in my opinion, not quite as good looking an action RPG as good as, it doesn't look as good as Ori looked visually to me. There was something striking about Ori, and this looks good, but just not unique good, if that makes sense. Like it's I'm sure their animation stuff that they showed looked fine, but like it doesn't necessarily have a uniqueness to it. It doesn't stand out like Ori does. So and also, it's just another action RPG. There's plenty of those. So it's, I don't know, didn't get me as hype as I was hoping when I saw the Moon Studios logo come up. I'm like, a little bit. But have faith. Sega have confirmed the Super Games finally. So that whole rumored Super Game initiative that we've been hearing about for years, where they were considering like bringing back Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi and games like that, that is real. And they announced 5 games in quick succession here.
Well,
all right.
Theoretically announced 5 games, I guess.
Yeah. So
we'll see when they actually come out.
Yeah, there is a new Jet Set Radio. There is a new Crazy Taxi. There is a Shinobi game, a Streets of Rage game, and a Golden Axe. So really going back to that Mega Drive era. Well, I suppose not Crazy Taxi, but you know what I mean. Well, not even Jet Set Radio, I suppose. But like they are tapping the well they haven't tapped for a while.
Well, not exactly for a while, even really, in terms of even Streets of Rage and Golden Axe.
I mean, Streets of Rage is the weirdest on that list because technically it wasn't Sega that did Streets of Rage 4,
sure,
right? That got licensed.
What do you do with a well to get stuff? You draw from it, right?
Yes.
You can't really tap a well because it's too low down.
You could tap a well if you
could tap it.
You put a pipe down there and
Yeah. You'd have to pump it though. That's the idea of the well, is that you. I think, yeah. Is it draw? What? Anyway, we're drawing from the well.
They're drawing from the well. The well of IP.
They're tapping a keg of games.
A keg of games.
Yeah, tap that keg.
Streets of Rage is obviously the weird one because there's been one not that long ago, but it wasn't technically Sega that did anything with that.
I mean, that was very well received.
Streets of Rage 4 is good. I like that game a lot.
So let's see how Sega fucks it up.
Yeah, because the bit they showed of it is like they are taking that in a very different direction from what Streets of Rage 4 was. It's a they've gone 3D. You know, they've gone. I don't know. Is this the bit that I'm wondering? Is like so. Oh, what was that game called? The 3D one, sort of Saturn era-y. Anyway, they were
that's not specific enough.
No, it's not. But it was a beat 'em up. We played the demo quite a bit.
I think you're probably
Fighting Force,
Freedom Force.
No, I think it's Fighting Force.
Or Freedom Force was a sequel.
There was a Fighting Force 2.
No, there's a Freedom Force as well because it was.
I don't think it was Freedom Force. I think it's Fighting Force. Anyway, whichever one it is, Streets of Rage it was going to be like that at one point. They were going to make a Streets of Rage 4 like that, and then it kind of got a bit derailed and Sega lost confidence in it, so the devs went off and made Fighting Force instead. And this kind of looks like this was perhaps that original plan. Like Sega wanted a 3D Streets of Rage, and they're now making it happen. So that, I don't know if that's good or bad. That's kind of weird. They are attempting another Golden Axe, which might be a bad idea because they did that once before.
Yep.
On the 360, they tried to make an action-adventure game out of Golden Axe that was generic as all hell, and nobody liked it. So that's maybe a dangerous route to go down. Shinobi probably actually looks the most promising because they look like they've gone relatively small scope, and it looks like it's a Metroidvania, but it looks a little bit like it looks a little bit like Mark of the Ninja is what is the vibe I'm getting. So it's like that sort of art style, that sort of look, and I think they're pulling that off quite successfully. It's a good fit for Shinobi. I mean, the only other thing they probably could have done with it is make a Ninja Gaiden style game. A Ninja Gaiden, like the 3D Ninja Gaidens, I suppose, the Team Ninja ones. They could have gone that route with it. And then there's Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio. And I mean, obviously, hype for Jet Set Radio, but you need to look at that thing because it's like there aren't many like shots to go on, but they've changed the style.
Right.
And so like it's got more of a realistic look to it. Like it's still stylized, but it's not as stylized.
Hmm.
And I don't know how I feel about it. Like, so they show beat in all of the shots of it, but it's a more like believable beat, I suppose, is the unfortunate way to phrase it. They look like more normally proportioned humans. Like the arms aren't massive like they are in Jet Set Radio. And he's wearing just a hoodie, and he's still got his goggles on and headphones, but they're not as wild as they are in the previous two games. And like, unless they're trying to like pick this as like a prequel or something, it's like I don't know that I'm into it.
Mm. And this soon after Bomb Rush.
After Bomb Rush, yeah. I mean, we don't know how far away these games are. And I have a sort of similar problem with Crazy Taxi as well, because it's like, it looks like they've kind of applied the same 3D, like the same modernization process, I suppose, to Crazy Taxi, and it looks like it's lost a bit of identity in the process. So I don't know, man. Like it's
But they're making full-on Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi games.
They are,
That's
which in itself is
Crazy
a
Taxi's case might not be much still, but
Well, we don't
Jet
know.
Set's
Never
case, you'd hope
was,
that'd
yeah.
be relatively large.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Sega are still doing it. Like whether they're throwing like big budget behind it or not, like it's hard to tell at this point. I don't know. There's something off about all of this.
Potentially exciting, though.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. Note of caution.
But, you know, Sega developing 5 games at once. Like, I don't know. Have they perhaps bit off a little more than they can chew? Like, is that a problem in itself?
Right, everyone's been waiting years, and it's like, do them all.
Do them all
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to rub this in a little bit more, the trailer did include the phrase, and more, at the bottom of the list of these games, and it's like, oh
marketing,
god,
yeah.
what are you doing? Like
Space Channel 5.
They already did that, didn't they?
Did they?
There's been 2 of those games, but they only re-released the Dreamcast ones, I think.
Choo Choo Rocket. I don't know.
Man, yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, fine. Like tap your keg.
Tap that well.
Yeah.
Tap that keg.
Tap your keg. That's fine. It's like you own these things, do it, and I'm all for it. But Jet Set Radio better be good. I can live with a bad Crazy Taxi. A bad Jet Set Radio tarnishes the whole fucking thing. Don't do it.
But it's Sega. They've already tarnished everything else.
They haven't tarnished Yakuza.
Not Jet Set Radio. Yeah.
Well, they haven't tarnished it because they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, okay, maybe. By the way, Zach, Freedom Force was that weird superhero game.
Yeah, I was just looking it up. And
What the MMO?
No, it was a turn-based strategy.
Another City of Heroes, I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sure there was another one that was like a 3D brawler that also was more superhero-y, but I can't remember what it was called.
I mean, you're probably right. There was a lot of experimentation in that.
Yeah.
You think of Dynamite Cop?
No.
No. That was another Sega beat 'em uppy thing.
But
Did
yes.
you play Freedom Force, or did you just have the demo, Zach?
I think that was just a demo.
Right.
Oh, I remember that. Yes, yes. It's suddenly coming back to me. Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember seeing
Me play it.
you play it at your house.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only been 20 years, so...
Yeah. Did that ever actually come out?
Well, it has a significant Wikipedia page, which I assume means it probably
Suggests
did.
it might have.
Who's it made by? Irrational.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
The other one was made by Core.
Huh. Yeah, Fighting Force was Core design, yeah.
Anyway.
Anywho.
There's that whole thing. Team Ninja are moving on from Neo and making another samurai game, but not a Dark Souls-y samurai game this time. Looks more... Well, actually, nobody really knows what it is. Anyway, samurai games are cool. Rise of the Ronin. Just thought I'd mention that just because samurai. It wouldn't be a Keighley joint without Kojima turning up at some point. But he turned up not to tell us anything about Death Stranding 2. He's got another project on the go. And it turns out this is the rumoured project that he was that he was working on with Xbox Game Studios.
Oh.
yeah, we don't really know. Again, we don't really know anything about it. He announced several actor names that are involved in the project.
We managed not to leak it this time.
We managed not to leak it. Yeah. The project's called OD. Probably horror related, given the fact that they showed lots of close-up faces, some of them screaming.
As long as they don't release a demo and then never make the game and then delete the demo later.
Yeah.
The demo that everyone loved, right?
And it's also got direction from one Jordan Peele, if you want to add another celebrity name.
Okay, well, there you go.
Pile.
He's the modern horror guy. Right? Well, not, I mean, there are others, but, he's done pretty well with that run of 3 films so far, is it?
I don't know, actually. I'm not. I
Get
specifically
Out.
don't follow like horror. Oh, he's Get Out, right? Okay.
Get Out, and what's the middle one? And then Nope. I didn't see the one in the middle. I can't remember what that's called. Us or something. Anyway, Get Out, really good. Nope, also good. So yeah, that is cool. He's good. I don't know how this
I don't want to watch any of those.
I suppose
I've said, I know what Get Out's about, and it's and it's just I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, fair. If you're not into horror,
horror is not my thing.
Well, I never was, and then that's one of the early ones. So it's because I never think to myself, I know what I'll do. I'll see a horror film in the cinema where I can't escape. That sounds like a good time. And then I saw Get Out because it was kind of a cultural moment, a little bit, I suppose.
Sure.
And it was really fun and really good. And then my thing is that I never sit down and think I know what I'll do. I'll watch a horror film, but every time I somehow watch one, I end up really liking it. Watching Scream on TV or something. It's that's really good.
That's different. Those are I don't call those horror. Those are slasher flicks. That era is very different because they're not scary. They're
yeah. I know, but that's what I end up thinking quite a lot often. Is okay, well, this is really fun. It's not necessarily all that scary, but obviously some of them are. Yeah.
Okay, so what have I seen? I haven't seen many horror films. I saw The Ring, both versions,
sure.
And I quite like that actually. That's pretty well made, but it is on the scary side. Woman in Black, I think. The Daniel Radcliffe
play,
thing,
wasn't it?
Yeah, I saw that. The Shyamalan joint. God, The Village. I think I saw The Village. Don't know if that even really counts. I think that's the one where they're spoilers, where they're sort of living a Mormon lifestyle, but then it's not actually set in the oldie times. It's surprise. It's modern day. Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, The Wicker Man. Obviously.
Obviously, that's not obvious. Which one? The original.
The original, yeah, but that doesn't really count as horror.
Yes, it does. That totally counts as a horror film.
You think?
Yeah, The Wicker Man.
I thought it was more a psychological drama. But
well, yeah, sure, but I don't know. I think The Wicker Man counts. It's pretty creepy and weird, and I think that totally counts with Edward Woodward.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That definitely counts.
Sorry. That definitely counts. And the prequel, it wasn't the actual Texas Chainsaw. It was the prequel one they made.
Okay.
Sort of more modern.
Haven't you seen don't you like 28 Days Later and stuff? That counts, does it?
You reckon?
A zombie, I suppose. It's a horror film.
That's more just a zombie film for me. But I don't necessarily know. But I have seen 28 Days Later, and that's fine. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hostel. Oh God, I've just remembered Hostel.
Oh, okay. Well, that's one of those.
I mean, both that and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wish I never saw. I just wish I didn't see those.
I haven't
that's
seen
my
Hostel,
problem with horror. I kind of don't want those thoughts.
But I think that's a subgenre of horror, right? That's designed specifically for
it's gore porn.
It's like torture porn type stuff, right? That's and I hear there's there's variation within that genre. I mean, like some of the Saw films are probably quite fun or whatever. But
never
it's
seen
designed
those.
for
That's never appealed.
but there's a lot of like lower quality ones, and they're designed for a specific make money out of teenagers going to the cinema at Halloween.
Final Destination I'll put in that category.
Yeah.
Those aren't horror films for me. They're
in that category, and it's like you can get some campy fun out of those. Like Final Destination is just like
it's fun.
So ludicrous.
Those are so stupid.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, the stupidity of them makes them. I mean, it's less stupid than like I don't know, Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, but it's basically on that kind of level.
Yeah,
but I was like, oh, okay, because I saw because I got invited to the cinema to see Midsummer a few years ago, and ended up really not realizing it was a horror film, and ended up really enjoying it. And I also saw The Lighthouse that year, I think, as well. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I am into this. And I started trying to watch some of the classics, but I haven't got very far. But I've seen like The Exorcist, very, very good. And The Thing, the John Carpenter's The Thing from the 80s.
Oh,
that's
seen
fantastic.
Most of that. It's one of those films I've never watched all the way through in one go, but I've seen a lot of it.
Stuff like that. Like,
does Alien count?
Yeah, that counts as a horror film.
I suppose the first one does. Yeah, that's all right. I'm not. I don't know. I've never been a huge Alien fan. Like, it's just
okay. Fair enough.
I just find it. I just think it's fine.
I like Alien. That's good. I actually saw Alien once. For some reason, they projected it in the main hall of the Natural History Museum. I went to see it with my brother, and they had like, I don't know, they sort of tried to justify it in terms of natural history with like the xenomorph and stuff.
Weird.
And contrasting it with real creatures. I don't know. It was weird. And also not the best acoustics for a cinema.
Sure.
The main hall of the Natural History Museum.
Had Prometheus come out at that point? Or were they trying to like tie it to that?
Oh yeah. It was way past that.
Right,
yeah. I haven't actually seen Prometheus. I need to watch
that.
I know
not
it's
great.
divisive. yeah. So I yeah. Ridley Scott is a little bit anyway, hit and miss. Some real hits like friggin' Alien and Blade Runner, incredible.
Jason X. I've seen Jason X. That's a stupid film. If you want to see that, that's what?
You've probably seen more than me.
What if Jason was on the moon?
Bring you back to Kojima or whatever. Like Get Out's pretty good. And it's not too bad. I'll say that. And it's pretty fun. It's mainly because it's like a social commentary film about racism, right? Obviously, there's that level to it, but it's also like a fun like horror as well.
I suppose It as well. I guess that counts. Friday the 13th. That's all right. Halloween. They all kind of suck. Especially
I think there are
loads
sucks.
I hate it. It's a bad film.
I mean, there's loads that are considered like very good, right? Even modern ones, like horror films that are like art houseies and stuff like the Vivitch or whatever and stuff like that, and whatever it is, Hereditary and
I've heard of that.
All that stuff. But yeah,
Quiet Place. I think a lot of people I know seem to like The Quiet Place.
Which one is that one? Is that?
I think that's Emily Blunt.
Okay. So yeah, I think I'm missing out on quite a few, and I need to watch more. But anyway, Get Out. Nope was also good. Not as good as Get Out. I tell you what I saw, Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson years ago. I thought that was because Nope. There's a bit in Nope that's kind of similar or related. Basically, aliens eating people, basically, or eating, or like. What do you call? I don't know, like digesting people, I guess. Anyway, but that was very good. Do you know about Under the Skin? It's literally Scarlett Johansson, as in Scarlett Johansson, driving around Glasgow in a transit van, picking up men. But of course, she's like an alien.
Of course.
And bad things happen to the people she picks up. Most of them, not all of them. Anyway, it's weird.
All right.
But she literally learned how to drive a transit van and drove around Glasgow. It's like semi-improvised or whatever. Some of the people who appear in it are members of the public, I think.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So they wouldn't be able to do that now with her, right? Because it would just be like, oh my God,
I mean, she was famous. I mean, she was famous then. Like, she's been famous since she was Girl with a Pearl Earring. She's been famous since she was like 16 or something, right?
Sure,
I suppose more so.
but
I guess this was pre-Avengers,
Of
probably.
course, yeah.
Or probably around the same time as Avengers, yeah.
Weird. Never
Yeah,
heard of
anyway,
it, but
that's a good one. That's a good one. Creepy.
Anyway, OD. Super
Kojima.
early. It's going to be a while till we hear more about that.
Always interested to hear what Kojima's.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to walk around, the Death Stranding country delivering packages just to get all the Kojima stuff, but
Dystopian Amazon.
Are you going to play Death Stranding 2?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I can't say that I fully enjoyed my time with it from a gameplay perspective, but I'm glad I played it because it is just so weird.
Yeah.
Can't deny the weirdness.
That's the thing is, like, with these films or whatever, is like, if something is like so weird, it's still only 2 hours of your life.
Exactly.
Whereas, like, Death Stranding is like so weird and a lot more than that.
It's interesting. It's it doesn't commit the cardinal sin of gaming, which is to just be boring, right? Like you can as long as you're interesting, you have value.
Indeed.
And Kojima is
Need more
definitely
of
that
stuff. Yeah.
Okay, last few things. That's because we're already running long.
Okay.
Skull and Bones is actually going to come out in February.
That's a real game.
It's a real game. It's a thing. Arcane, the good Arcane, not the Redfall Arcane. They are working on a Blade game, and I mean Marvel's Blade. The half vampire
Marvel's
guy.
Blade. Is Blade coming into the actual MCU
I don't know.
as a character?
Because I don't know that they're going to look like. I don't know if they'll reference like the Wesley Snipes films or like just go complete. They must just go completely new at this point, surely.
Presumably. I still can't. What are they doing with the X-Men? Have they got the rights to that? Because
they sort of do, but like I don't think they've made any hard. I mean, Wolverine is in the new Deadpool film.
That's right. And they already did like a weird cameo in. Oh God, I've even forgotten what all the films are.
Oh yeah, Xavier was in one of them, wasn't he?
Yeah,
it might have been Doctor Strange. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh yeah,
was in there.
that we watched together, right? The Multiverse of Madness. Yeah.
And it was Jean-Luc Picard. It was Patrick Stewart Xavier, not
yeah.
Oh, I've forgotten his name. James something. Not young Xavier.
McAvoy.
That's it. Yeah. Which was interesting.
But he wasn't really the Xavier from.
No, he was parallel
was
universe Xavier. Yeah, one of the.
But he was he was the cartoon, right? In terms of the costume or whatever,
sure.
And and I think it even had a bit of a sting of the music from the cartoon, didn't it?
Yeah, there was a little bit of the in there. Yeah.
Anyway,
that's cool. And finally, Hello Games, purveyors of No Man's Sky for the last decade. They're making a new game called Light No Fire. Equally large in scope, I would say.
Procedural stuff again?
Yeah, procedural stuff, but but this time a procedural single planet. They want to make an Earth-like planet but is like way
multiple
bigger than
biomes.
Earth. Yeah, multiple biomes basically. That is way bigger than Earth, way bigger and like larger in scale than a real Earth would be. Like they want mountains that are realistic size, so you get up. It takes friggin' ages to get up them, and
Great.
And then you get to the top, and they look massive, and the world below you looks massive. Something video games. I think, as Sean Murray rightly points out, video games caricaturize, whatever the word for that is. Like they sort of make worlds. They have all these elements, but they're clearly not right. Like and we've just sort of trained ourselves to believe them. So they're going for that, but it's fantasy this time. Ride dragons, do stuff.
Oh, cool.
It's interesting. I mean,
That's
who knows
cool.
what? And the footage they were showing, it's like, hey, this is multiplayer from the start. This time, we're not just going to say it's multiplayer and not do it. It's like, so the footage they showed was like, yeah, this is in development multiplayer. Everything you're seeing here was shot.
So do like this is a whole Middle Earth or whatever.
Kinda,
like,
yeah.
Accurate scale kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
It seems to be what they're going for.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. And honestly, if they've like with No Man's Sky in the place it is now, I think it's. I mean, we've had all this before from them, honestly, like the No Man's Lie thing and all of that. But this time, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt because I think their tech is probably there now. I think they can pull this off. And as Geoff Keighley was fairly quick to point out, it's like, hey, Hello Games are still an independent studio. This counts as an indie game, like
Yeah.
with some assistance from Sony.
That's cool. I mean, the No Man's Sky story is cool. Like
It's a good turnaround story. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that game is still, as Zach and I were talking about at length before the podcast, that game is still in a slightly weird place, really. Like you can see, like its history is laid bare in the game, really.
Right.
But it is a good game. It's a strange game, but it's a good game. So yeah, perhaps having another stab at it from scratch is a good idea. It's been a while. Ultimately, it's been a while. So yeah, and that's all I got. That's the TGAs. No stage invasions.
Cool.
No talks about
okay.
nothing about. Oh, I mean, they clearly beefed up security. Even Gnome was looking at it. Gnome saw a bit of it with me and like, why have they got so many bouncers? And it's like because they've gone for their stage design where it's just steps up to the stage again, and they're worried about people talking about Orthodox rabbis.
Yeah.
Why do they do that? Like,
don't know.
why not just make it anyway?
Was it Gamescom as well, where that guy just got on stage and was just like, "Where's GTA 6? Come on, guys, where's GTA 6? I want to play GTA 6." And it's like, just into a mic.
Well, at least they got an answer for that.
Yeah, that guy's clearly sated.
Yeah.
There's one more trailer that I saw, which I don't know if it was at the Game Awards, but I assume it's not, because otherwise Rob probably would have picked up on this.
Mm-hmm.
So it might just be coincidental timing. But I saw a trailer for a game called Industrial Annihilation.
Oh, I did not see
Which you might be able to tell by that name what sort of game it is.
Okay.
In both halves of that name.
Right, so...
And it's from the people who made Planetary Annihilation.
Okay, that was going to be my first question, right? So Sumo...
Well, no, that's the question, because I couldn't figure it out, because it's a new company name. Like...
Not Sumo. It's never Sumo, is it? I always get that wrong.
It was Uber.
Okay. Yeah.
It was Uber after Monday Night Combat.
Yes.
Monday Night Combat, but before they became Star Division or whatever it was, when they turned into KSV2 and then got fired from that as well.
Right.
But yeah, so that was the problem. It's like, it says from the people who made Planetary Annihilation, and it's like, yeah, but which one? Do you mean the Uber people who made Planetary Annihilation, the people who were left over from Uber who continued Planetary Annihilation, or the goddamn community team who took over Planetary Annihilation after they were all gone?
Yeah, who are we talking about here?
But yeah, they're making a new... Well, it basically looks quite a lot like Planetary Annihilation, except with, like, now you build conveyor belts as well. So you're building... It's trying to combine RTS and factory building into one thing, which I'm not sure is going to work, but, you know...
Did they see Space Factorio and were like, we can do that?
Well, the thing is, like, I just don't think it's going to work, because I don't think you can combine those two. Like, you can combine factory building and tower defense, but I'm not sure you can combine factory building and RTS. Like, that's two things that happen at completely different timescales and require so much attention on both ends.
Is that going to turn into just a, an actions per minute click fest? Like, because you can't make that competitive, like, right? Like,
well, it's like turtling, except the whole point of turtling is, like, turtling doesn't actually work when you're playing against actual people, because rush is always the superior technique.
To my detriment, it never works.
Yes. So, like, if you're going to require some element of concentration on this whole factory building part, I don't see how that's really going to work with the RTS, but I don't know, maybe they'll figure it out. Like I say, I can understand factory building plus tower defense. That has worked. Mindustry and Riftbreaker.
Sure, yeah.
They did it pretty good. But, like, I'm not sure you can go all the way to RDS. But, apart from that, it looks exactly like Planetary Annihilation, which it looks exactly like Total Annihilation. You still have the commander and the spraying the green shit into the blueprint. It's like they really haven't innovated that at all.
What was that free open source one I played a while back?
Beyond All Reason.
Beyond All Reason.
I still haven't got around to trying that.
You should try that now that your system will clearly be able to run it.
Yes.
Because it's very Total Annihilation. And in a good way.
I keep saying I should at some point go back to Planetary Annihilation and see how they've sorted that out. Whatever they did, whatever the community team ended up doing to it. But that was just a weird trailer that appeared in my in my YouTube.
Didn't hear about that one at all. Hey, and speaking of weird trailers that turned up, this is a game that released last year and completely passed me by. It's called the Punch Win.
Okay,
like penguin, but with punch instead of peng. He clearly isn't having crep checks.
Okay, but he is punching.
He is punching. It's the pengest punch. There we go. We got there.
Nice. He finally made it to the joke.
But the reason I mention this is because it's from Shinnen, who I don't know, they are high up on my developers to watch list because of Fast, right? Fast RMX, and then the pretty excellent The Tourist as well, which they're both great games. And this came out last year and completely passed me by. It's like, oh man, Shinnen, what you it's much smaller scope than those games.
Well, yeah, I would imagine so.
It's somewhere between a puzzle game and a platformer in some way. But I might check that out. It's on Switch. So just shout out to Shinnen. Looking forward to whatever your next actual
real game.
Big scale project is. But Punch Win looks cool. That's news.
That might as well be a podcast.
Well, yeah.
I mean, let's rattle through what you've been playing.
Yeah, I can rattle.
Can you?
Yeah. I finished Cocoon. It's not a long game.
Okay.
It's about 6.5 hours long. It won best debut, at the Game Awards. That game is rad. Don't sleep on Cocoon. Cocoon is cool. It does some really neat tricks towards the end of the game. It's one of those games where it has a reasonable number of mechanics, and it doesn't overuse any of them. Perhaps the one thing you might feel a little disappointed by is I don't know if the puzzle complexity was ever super tough. And given the number of mechanics at their disposal, they could have made some really super tough puzzles here, some fairly taxing ones, but they don't. And in fact, none of them, they don't use all of the mechanics at once, right? So there's never that one uber puzzle where it's just where you have to use everything you've learned over the course of the game. It's always picking which couple of mechanics to use at any one time. But it pulls some neat tricks towards the end. There's a sort of twist reveal of what one of the raccoons, one of the cocoons is, and that's
one of the
raccoons. Yeah, suddenly we're playing Donut County. Actually, and there's I can't really say anything without spoiling it, which is a shame. You can so I 100%ed that game because there are secrets to find along the way. However, I have heard and read that there is a secret ending that is not in the achievements list. So, even though I've 100% of that game, I've got 1,000 out of 1,000 points. There is more. There is a way of getting a secret ending, and I don't know what that is. I don't think I've had a clue as to how that is. I have a theory about where I would do it, but I don't know any of the hints leading up to that point of how I could do that differently. So yeah, if you want to go deep, there is a deep puzzle in that game to unlock a secret ending, which I have also not gone out of my way to watch or anything like that. But Cocoon is rad. Just that's all there is to it. You should play Cocoon. And because it's short and on Game Pass, you have no excuse if you're a Game Pass subscriber. Just go play that thing. It's cool.
Zach.
Yeah, I know. The trouble is, not to get directly onto what I've been playing because we'll be talking about it in a minute, but even just having this free month of game, well, maybe because it's just the free month, which makes it even worse. It's just like decision paralysis is so bad
man, yeah.
when you've got this huge ass library suddenly, and you're like, well, I can't commit to anything.
It's like, what do I do? Yeah, Cocoon's a good choice. But yeah, like I don't know. It's one of those. It's one of those, like, it depends what you're in it for, right? If you're using your free time just to try games and things like that, then maybe Cocoon's not the one to go for.
But it's not that long.
But it's not that long. So like someone like you could clear it in a day. I mean, it didn't take me many sessions to finish it because while I was playing it, I was pretty hooked. So I finished it in like 2 or 3 sessions. Like, it's, even with a baby about, it's it had me properly hooked. Less effective was Planet of Lana.
Right.
So I got around to playing that because that's also on Game Pass. It's a puzzle platformer. I think that might have trailed at the TGAs at some point.
Yep.
Where you're on a lush green planet with your cat buddy. But there's bad robots. There's bad robots, and they steal your village. Well, the people in your village.
Steal the whole thing.
They kind of do. I mean, it's sort of stealing the village, including your good friend. And of course, you just blindly wander out trying to find where you're, like, trying to save your friend. And on the way, you learn a little bit about the history of your people. Blah, 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 blah. It's one of those. Anyway, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not Cocoon rad. Like, it's fine. I don't think it's doing anything particularly out of the box here. You're not going to be super surprised. Like, it's also a bit mechanics light, I would say. Like, it doesn't have that many mechanics to it over its runtime. I mean, it looks nice. I think the music is well done. It has minimal voice acting, but it has a little bit like, I just especially like the way your cat friend Mooey sounds, kind of like beep, 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 beep. Like, so just someone just going into a mic. Like, it's kind of funny. But yeah, it's never super complex. It's never super tough. The hardest thing about that game, I think, is its achievements, which are annoying because it's basically find the secret stuff, and that's how you get points. Like, just beating the game gets you next to nothing. Like, it sucks. I hate it when achievements are skewed in that way. And I've found 4 of the 10 secret things, so that's annoying. I found the first 2 and the last 2, so my the whole middle sector of the game, I clearly wasn't paying attention. But yeah, it's okay. I think like it has a few flaws, and one of them is complexity. It just doesn't have that many mechanics, which is kind of then thankful, I guess, that it doesn't outstay its welcome. Like, it's not a super long game either, but I think if they had done more without introducing new stuff, that wouldn't have played out. It wouldn't have been good. There are a few puzzles that I don't think quite work right. There is a timing element to all of it, to quite a lot of the puzzles. Like, you must do this thing and then do this at this precise moment, and sometimes those timing windows are quite small, or it's not obvious what that timing window is until you've tried something and failed. It's not. I don't think it does a great job sometimes at telegraphing what you. Or, yeah, I mean, it's a puzzle platform. It shouldn't necessarily telegraph what you've got to do all the time. You've got to figure that out. But the figuring that out is through death. And then that usually puts you back to the start of the puzzle. And there are a couple of, like, I suppose, marquee moments where that is particularly problematic, where it's just like, I don't quite know what to do here. Oh, clearly not that. Okay, let's try something else. Oh, that's what you wanted me to do. Okay, fine. No, we've got that. I can see your logic there, but it wasn't, like, obvious to me straight off the bat what your logic was going to be. There's a few problematic moments like that. I think it also has like it perhaps could have done with a little longer in the oven, because it has a presentation quirk where you reach a cutscene or some kind of cutaway. It will often do a fade to black and fade back in when your character hasn't moved anywhere. Right? It just seems to be that it's the transition to cutscene mode has to involve a fade for some reason. Which it seemed unnecessary. They probably could have smoothed that out pretty easily. There's an inconsistency in I would call it an inconsistency of pain. Like, so there are moments in the story where your character falls from a great height and is fine. And then, of course, you can't do that. Like, when you're actually trying to solve a puzzle, you can't fall very far before dying. And it's just like, well, okay, what, like what? Just a few moments like that where it's not consistent feeling narratively. And my biggest complaint, and this screwed me up quite a few times, is like, okay, the way it feels is a little bit like Limbo, right? The way the character moves, it's got that little bit of like a sort of semi-floatiness to it. I wouldn't call it like the sort of procedural look feeling that perhaps Limbo's animation had to some extent, but there's a sort of, and like, Lana can do a ledge grab and then pull herself up from it. But the worst part of the control is when you do that ledge grab, sometimes it felt like it was pulling her, she was then pulling herself up of her own accord, and sometimes you don't want that as part of a puzzle solution. Like, sometimes you might actually want to hang there for a bit, because of line of sight in some cases. It would make sense to stay out of sight, and sometimes you just pull herself up, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I didn't do that. Or the most, even more annoying was like when you pull yourself up, sometimes she would just put herself back down on the ledge, and it's like, no, I need to do this thing real quick. Oh, now I'm dead. So I had control issues in those instances, which was a bit immersion breaking and a bit annoying. But I like its vibe. I like its audio design. I like its style. I think the story is interesting because it's vague enough that you don't quite know what the intent of the robots were, like why they were bad, and I won't spoil like how that plays out or anything like that. But it's left. It's both good and frustrating because I'm the kind of person that likes closure. But there's enough hanging, like the surface level story closes, that's fine. But the sort of bigger narrative is left with a lot of question marks, and that is both annoying and cool simultaneously.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Like having it's I think it like just suffered from the fact that I literally played a puzzler directly before it, and a really good puzzler directly before it.
Right, yeah, fair. Yeah.
So it probably feels less good in my head right now than it actually is. Right, what else we got? What else can I talk about real quick? What else have I ever did? I played 4x4 Thunder on the Dreamcast. That game is bad. Don't play it. It's not nearly as cool as Hydro Thunder. Not even close. It's not the same game.
No Excite Truck.
No Excite Truck. No.
Oh, we need to somehow capture that for a video. And we're talking. Oh yeah, Excite Truck, as in the Wii game.
Yeah.
As in the Excite series, as in Excite Bike, right?
Excite Bike, then Excite Truck.
Anyway.
Yeah. That might actually be doable. I could probably sort that out.
That's an aside. Yep.
Middle route.
Because I don't think anyone else remembers that game, do they?
Excite Truck was cool. It's real stupid.
That's not what people think of when they think of the Wii, is it?
No. Well, I mean, there's a lot of waggle. There's a lot of steering in the air with Bluetooth remotes. I wonder how that translates if you try and play it with a controller and like emulate just a stick.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
Probably not. What was the other thing I did? Mad Bullets. And I played some Zelda, obviously, but Mad Bullets is also a not very good light gun game. It's too much. It's a sort of modern-y one you can play on Steam, but it's kind of like mobile. It's basically just endless, and it gets harder and harder as you go, and sort of is slightly randomized in the routes, but it has like mobile style goals. So you do a run, and it's like, you didn't shoot this thing, or you got 3 perhaps. Yeah, you'll rank up, and now you can upgrade yourself, so the next run will be easier. And it's like, it's fine. It's just like kind of off. Like the bullets aren't loud enough. The sound design's a bit off. The music is a bit too much. Like it's just. So someone made a light gun game, I guess, but that you can play with the mouse or your finger because it's got that feel to it as well. But also, yeah, it's not brilliant. It's not brilliant. But it's something very quick I can fire up on the light gun without too much hassle. So, there's that. I'm done. Unless I think of anything else, I'm done.
Zachary Burgess, what have you been playing?
Well, fortunately, I haven't played anything new. I went back to a bunch of stuff, even though we just talked about the Game Pass. Still haven't done any. Still haven't even gone to City Skylines. I did get around to installing it, so we're getting closer. But we'll see about that. But yeah, I guess in the spirit of finishing this podcast in a reasonable amount of time, I'm only going to talk about a couple of things. And also I made notes, so I won't ramble so much. But so on the Game Pass, actually both of these are Game Pass preview, they would be early access on Steam or whatever, preview program. But I went back to, I guess this one is actually out now. I went to Steamworld Build, now that it's finally out.
Yeah, that is out. Yeah.
But yeah, so I went back to that and played further than where I got to before in the demo, I guess it was then. And that game is still exactly what it appears to be, slightly too simplified city building on the surface and slightly too simplified dungeon keeper on the bottom.
Right, yeah.
But it has some specific things where it's just it could have been cooler, but the simplification makes it actually worse. When you're doing the city building, it has that thing where you supply the citizens with their needs or whatever, and then you can upgrade them to a higher tier of citizen, and then those guys have more needs or whatever.
You are now middle class.
Yeah, pretty much literally in that game. In fact, it goes the starting worker robots, and then you've got engineers, and then you've got aristocrats, and then you've got scientists.
Oh,
not quite the standard class system, but pretty close.
Scientocracy.
Yeah, but so you do that.
Is that meritocracy? Really?
Yeah. You do that, and
depending on what you value, I guess.
Yeah. You do that, and you give them their services, and then that lets you upgrade. But the trouble is that all the different service requirements or whatever, they're all basically essentially two-step construction chains where it's here's the raw resource building, here's the processing building, and then sometimes it's here's the, I guess, bar or whatever where they serve the oil because they're robots.
Right, yeah.
But so they're all of the products are like that, and then that leads to the problem where when you're getting to these higher class citizens that have 10 different needs, but you're just basically building the exact same thing 10 times because it's build the one building, build the other building. Okay, then build the one building, then build the other building. It's just there's no actual variation or tactics to that. The only difficult part of that is occasionally, you put the raw resources on the place where the raw resources are good. Put the forester next to the trees. Put the sand extractor where it's more sandy. But apart from that, there's no nuance to that.
Right.
And the transport is even simplified where it's just they just have to be near a warehouse, and then the warehouses all share their inventory. And so you just, every time you build a new type of thing, you just put another warehouse near them or whatever, and it's fine. And it's even even more simplified where it doesn't really track the individual production of objects. It calculates it as a value over time where it's you're making 2 of these per however long the time cycle is, and you're using this 1.5 of them, so it's a positive number, so you're good. It's it doesn't actually track the individual objects moving between these buildings. It's just generalized to be
gotcha. Yeah,
you're making enough.
yeah.
Which in some ways is a nice simplification, but again, it's too much of a simplification.
Bit of an old school statistical sort of style.
Yeah.
That's what you mean. Yeah.
And then on the Dungeon Keeper side, it doesn't quite have enough it's
not enough marbles.
Well, no,
not enough slants.
The dungeon floor is probably pretty straight. They're robots.
Yeah.
But
they're pretty jaunty robots.
Well, that's true. They are pretty jaunty robots. But it doesn't have enough control on that layer of in a weird way where they've not giving you the things you need to deal with the things that they've made you fight against. Like, you get to the point where you're fighting the enemies and they do like a wave spawning thing where it's like every 5 minutes or whatever, the waves of enemies start spawning from these 2 specific locations.
Right.
And so you have like turrets, like traps that you can just place, and that's fine. But then when you have the units that actually go fight for you, the fighting robots, you can't control them in any way, really.
Oh, so you can't direct them to like RTS style.
No. So what actually usually happens is like the first enemy that spawns, all of your robots charge that one, but then they're all on one side of the map. So as soon as enemies start spawning on the other side of the map, there's no one there. And then maybe when they kill all the enemies on one side of the map, they are suddenly like, oh shit, there's an enemy over the other side of the map. Run across the entire map while the enemies are continuing to spawn. It's just like, this is not efficient in any way. And you need like guard posts to be like, half of you stay over here and half of you stay over here, unless I tell you otherwise. But yeah, that's that game. It is exactly what it appears to be.
Right, yeah. Side thought: do you ever think Dungeon Keeper has aged well?
I mean, I played Dungeon Keeper 2 not that many years ago at this point.
Yeah, I just sort of wonder, because that game was always relatively simplistic, but also I was kind of got to a point, and I always got to the same point in the campaign. I was like, I am bad at this somehow.
Because you're a child. That was why.
Probably, yeah.
That's why I actually finished Dungeon Keeper 2 when I played it again.
Something to be said for a simpler RTS. So they're a bit complicated these days.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. I mean, Dungeon Keeper is definitely more complicated than Steamworld Build. I can say that much. It's another case of they haven't progressed the tech. So there's that. And then the other thing I went back...
The fact that they didn't make another good Dungeon Keeper is a crime.
Well, yeah.
Like that mobile disaster.
Yep. And even the other companies that have tried to remake a Dungeon Keeper-esque game still haven't quite got there. They're getting close now.
Okay, what were the... Other than Build, what like...
Well, Dungeons 4 has just come out. Supposedly that's pretty decent.
I mean, that's a pretty on-the-nose name, isn't it?
Well, it's not like Keeper RL or whatever. The open source version of Dungeon Keeper.
Oh, huh. Was it like the attempt at the TTD?
Yeah, it's like the open TTD thing. I believe that's what that is.
Right, but you presumably have to have the...
I don't know how that one works.
Those asset pack ones?
Yeah, I don't know how that one works. I haven't looked into it that much. But then the other thing I went back to, this one is still on Game Preview, is Techtonica.
Okay, yeah.
I talked about playing that before, and I think that was during a demo fest or whatever. And yeah, that's still not out, so it's still a work in progress. But I went back to that to see if because I guess it's more, you could get to more of it in Game Preview rather than a demo.
The demo, right? Okay, yeah.
So I did that, and I mean, yeah, that game is still basically satisfactory inside a cave. But yeah, it still has the same problems. It has the weird... It's trying to have a bit of Subnautica where it has like the story going on, where as you explore the caves, you find weird shit, and it appears that probably you are stuck in stasis for a long time, and that's why everything is ruined now. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but yeah, it's trying to do that Subnautica thing. But the trouble is that it doesn't limit your access to it enough. Like, it tries to. Like, there's a lot of, like, the abandoned facilities you find, you have to repair the doors to get in, and then that's gating you by technology where you have to get the right parts to repair the door. But the stuff that you can just find out in the open is also, like, probably too much. Like, I spent probably a couple of hours before I'd actually built any factory, just walking around the caves and getting random free shit and lore.
Yeah, right.
Because you can also find a lot of chests that just have free stuff in. So then even when I started building the factory, it's like I still don't think I've actually crafted a conveyor belt yet, right. Even though I've built a lot of conveyor belts. Because I just found a lot of conveyor belts in boxes. So yeah, that's slightly weirdly balanced.
Naturally occurring conveyor.
Yeah. And then the other problem it has on that side of things is that just like on the factory side of things is that it puts maybe too much. It forces you to use like fuel, like physical items rather than electricity too much. Like at the start of the game, you're like, oh, it's like Factorio. You have the burner miner drills where you burn coal to run them, and it does that in this, where the mining drills run on fuel, and then you have the initial furnaces that run on fuel as well. So you have to deal with the logistics of having a fuel belt alongside the resource belt. except that doesn't go away. You just get more of that. And it's like, this is a bit much, especially because in order to like manufacture the fuel, it's not like in Factorio where you mine coal and that's it. In this game, you're having to grow plants and you have to process the plants in like a 2-step process. And then you make the fuel block and then you put that on a belt and then that goes to the mines. And it's like, that's a bit much for like a thing that you need for every, and that also limits your ability to like build a mining outpost. Because you can't just like slap down some drills in a power pole. You have to put down the drills and then maybe draw an entire conveyor belt from wherever the hell you're making the fuel all the way over there. So you can't then do like more independent expansion, which is sort of weird. But like I also don't feel like I've needed more than one copper and iron patch or whatever. I don't know how those resources expire compared to how much you use, and because it's more of a physical thing of like how many drills can you fit into this space. But also, I feel like I don't know. I just haven't been getting along with the like automating building the factory thing. Like I'm constantly feeling like it's too much effort for not enough reward of like automating anything. It does try and make it like more rewarding by basically making it so if you handcraft something in your inventory, in Factorio, the handcrafting is slower than if you do it in a machine.
Right.
In this game, I think it's the same speed, but when you're doing it in a machine, you just get twice as much out.
Oh, okay.
So it's like way more resource efficient to do it in a machine, but that so far that hasn't managed to offset the amount of extra time I spend crafting twice as much stuff in my inventory versus the amount of time I spend building the factory.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just a weird feeling thing about it. But so yeah, that was that. And that's probably all I need to talk about. I also played No Man's Sky and something else that I've forgotten. So we'll talk about those next time.
No Man's Sky must run real good on your machine.
It loads. Not instantly, but way quicker.
Yeah. That initial load is always a thing.
Well, yeah.
Like there is a lot to be said for quick resume on Xbox.
Well, sure. But
man, what a great technology. Quick resume is amazing.
Teleporting around between systems is certainly like only a few seconds now, which is nice. Makes it much more bearable to constantly jump between my freighter and a planet base and whatever.
That is nice.
But yeah, we'll probably talk about that more next time, maybe.
Yeah, every time we talk about it, a bit of me goes, I should really try and check back in. I should actually try and finish some stuff in that game.
Sure.
Or see some stuff.
I played a little bit more Satisfactory. That was the other thing, but we saved talking about that for another time as well.
Yeah, I thought something else started playing.
Right.
My short of Wipeout and Mega Collection, which I did actually play a little bit, like, because hot news, I actually cancelled my PS Plus.
Okay.
Talk about cancelling things. I cancelled my PS Plus because it's just like, man, your game's lineup is rubbish. It has been, and if I want to play any of these, I'll re-up, whatever. I'll come back to it. I'm just not using my PlayStation right now because it's a PS4 and I don't have a PS5. And it's like, there isn't that much PS4 stuff I actually want to play. Maybe Ghost of Tsushima. Anyway, different conversation. So I dipped into Wipeout and Mega Collection for a moment. And you want to talk about audio design, like Best Audio Design Award or whatever. It's that every year. Every year it's Wipeout and Mega Collection. Oh my God, that game sounds
it's
so
impossible,
good.
But like, I would like it if you could play your own whatever Spotify and have it.
You can on PlayStation now, but yeah, you can't have it blended into the game. But
that would be so cool if it would like change, like cut out the lows or whatever. When all that stuff. That would be so cool. But I guess it's some kind of licensing reason.
The old Xbox custom soundtrack thing that could sort of do that.
Yeah, could sort of do that. Yeah. Back in the day, yeah.
I want to say they might have, like, when Zune Music or like one of Microsoft's failed music services was a thing, one of the Forza Horizons like would use your library as part of its radio stations.
So cool.
Because
that's what's slightly missing from a Mega Collection is like licensed tons of awesome music.
Like if I could bring like Machine Gun by Noisia back into it, because the Mega Collection doesn't have that, and that was in
exactly.
That was in Wipeout Fury, the original version. It's like if I could bring that back in, or any of the work by Sasha from Wipeout 3, that would be sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I can, I suppose, but yeah, it's not quite the same. I should probably experiment with that, see how that actually plays out. Anyway, that game sounds amazing. It's just every like the way the weapons sound, the bomb in particular, just so good. Like how like everyone else should be envious of how good this game sounds. Like it's incredible. Especially in surround. Anyway, that was aside. I actually started playing Split Second. So, do you remember Split Second? The sort of like Burnout rival from the 360 days.
Sort of.
So
who made that?
So BlackRock Studios made that, which used to be a Disney-owned developer. They don't exist anymore. So the Split Second's whole deal was that it was a racing game, but instead of like you actively taking drivers out by ramming them, you would use or boosting or anything like that. You would use the meter you would build up from drifting and drafting and that stuff to cause explosions on the track around you, like blow stuff up, and that would run into your rivals and knock them out, and you would get ahead that way.
Okay.
It's a kind of cool idea. The only other game I can think of that has perhaps done that in a similar way was Anti-Graviator, of all things. That not so great anti-grav racer I played years ago. And it kind of works. Like it's fun, it's exciting, it's big, and I have to give them props on a number of things. It's like it's a cool idea. The explosions are nice. The destruction is quite nice. The big scale destruction in particular is great. Like when airplanes come in and crash land on top of you, or you knock down entire Space Needle-like buildings, and it alters the track in its wake. It's like that stuff is cool. And for a 360 game, looks pretty great. The menu like shout out to old school menu presentation. This thing like kind of nails its aesthetic. It's going for like a TV show vibe, right? Like this is a big American show, and it kind of gets that even with the excessive, overly flashy menu panes and hard cuts and over editing. Like it very much lands that aesthetic, and so I just appreciate the amount of effort they've put into the vibe and styling of this thing. Like it's impressive how much effort has gone into that. Like I don't think even Burnout reached the sort of level that they've got here. Problem is, it's just not as good as Burnout, right? There's no getting away from that fact. Like it's all games of that ilk. It's just not quite there. Like the mechanic is fine and it works, but like it's hampered slightly by a not particularly intuitive drifting model, where it's actually frequently better to not drift. Like if you can do it, if you can not drift a turn, it's faster, but then you don't build up meter. So I guess there's risk reward in doing drifts at all, but I just don't find the drift feel very good at all.
Right, yeah.
I don't think it quite lands that. The presentation, although kind of cool, is over the top in a number of ways. Like it's got a bit of that old next gen filter problem. It's a little bit brown and a little bit washed out, a little bit oversaturated, a little bit too much sun bloom about the place. So seeing things is sometimes hard. Obviously it's running at like 360, like 30 frames per second at 720p, so you're going to suffer a little bit with that in the modern era anyway. But the biggest problem is camera shake. Like it's like someone is running behind the car. Like the camera shake is bonkers and just over the top all the time. Like it's fine when something explodes, like and stuff like and stuff is happening around you. That's okay. But just driving in a straight line down a bit of perfect tarmac, the camera is doing a little jig, like it's playing Fortnite or something, and then the guy's just still holding a camera. Like it's too much. It's too much. And you can mitigate that by going inside the car, but that is not the way to play that game. I don't like how that game handles from the in-car view either. So that is a big problem for me. Like it's just too much. It's too much going on. It's a shame it was never followed up though, because I think they could have, like with a few and then there's no option to turn it off is the other thing as well. There's no option to dial that back, which would go a long way. It's a shame this never got a follow up, because I think they could have taken this idea and improved it, made it something. A lot of people look back fondly on Split Second, is all I'm saying. But for me, the problem I had is it came out roughly the same time as Blur, and I think Blur is by far the better game.
Yeah, I'm a very Blur fan.
So I was very much in that camp, but yeah, there are people that swear by that thing, and it's it's all right. It is all right, but it's no Burnout killer. It's no Blur killer. It's its own thing, but it's not quite doing it for me. That was it. That was the one. That was the one other thing.
All right.
That was the Columbo.
Well, one more thing. Well, a split second later, it's time for the end of the podcast.
You still wondering?
Yeah, I'm still wondering. I'll catch up on that next time as well. But I think it's time to go.
Okay. Wowie zowie.
Wowie zowie. I still love Wowie Zowie. I don't know why you're so against Wowie Zowie. It's awesome.
I hate it so much.
It's so good. Yeah. Where is that? Is that from one of the Games Factory sound effects? Is it? I think it's like that like Sean Connery voice.
Time to go. It might have been actually. Yeah, it might have been a Games Factory sample. I've still got the library. I could probably find it.
I think it plays at the end of one of the Chop Suey levels. Indeed, it's time to wrap this up. We are Happy Salad, as you know, but you may not know that we have a YouTube channel as you're listening to our podcast. But we do. It's Happy Salad. So check it out for recent videos on the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, yes. And probably more. I mean, there's many more Sonic the Hedgehog related videos in our back catalogue and
Sonic
many other games too.
It's just so videoable. I don't know.
It makes for good videos. So check those out. You got Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed on there. All kinds.
Banger.
A timely playthrough of Beyond Good and Evil to check out if you got a bit more time over the Christmas period.
Oh yeah, that was news. That anniversary edition got announced.
Yeah,
they're a year late, I think, if you ask me. But they are putting out an anniversary edition of of Beyond Good and Evil with some minor tweaks.
You can see us playing it in a more timely fashion on YouTube. And we'll be back here in a couple of weeks with another Saladcast. So we'll catch you then. Goodbye.